Welcome to the Smark Foundation podcast. I am Aaron. This is Adam.
Howdy. What's up, y'all?
We are having our 1 month spectacular today. We've been
One
doing this for
month.
4 weeks. This is episode 4 of our very first season. We are still happy to be here. We enjoy doing this every week, and we thank you all for listening to us and sticking with us thus far. It has been an eventful week in wrestling, Adam. So I think maybe we
Really
probably
has.
get right to it because there's a
Get
lot
kind
to
of right
cover.
into it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean my notes are actually thicker than they normally are. So
Yeah,
we'll
I'm gonna try to take some inspiration from well, maybe not this week because I just kind of thought of it this morning, but I think going forward, I'm gonna take some inspiration from the Wrestle Talk guys. If you've ever seen Wrestle Talk News, they have like a couple of newsworthy bits that they talk about and discuss, and then they try to recap whatever show was previous to that in like 5 minutes. In the future, I'm gonna aim for a similar but not identical structure, not just because of gimmick infringement, but also because I don't think I can do it in 5 minutes. Uh, but I'm gonna start working on just hitting major points and stuff like that. I do have a tendency to be a little long in the long in the tooth. I don't think I'm using that right. A bit verbose.
that one.
So, but we're gonna try and clip that as much as I can this week, and then I'll try and make it so that maybe I'll make myself a script. Would you guys like me to work from a script? Maybe with not so many uhs and ums.
I don't know. I think the uhs and ums make it natural. They say not to edit those out because it makes it seems like a natural conversation instead of a
Yeah,
thing,
I could
which I
see
guess is
that.
I guess people if people find it too scripted, they don't like it or something. I don't know. So I
Oh,
don't
you mean like all the people who don't like flips and stuff? Oh,
know.
it's too choreographed. Oh, it's too fake. Oh, this podcast is too scripted.
I'm not even gonna let them script me on ad reads. So future advertisers be warned.
Yeah,
Um, so
they can give me a script. I'll read a script from an ad read.
I'll let Adam read the script and I'll be like the reactor guy.
Yeah, that works.
They're
See,
perfect.
here we are. We're letting you guys in on our process once again. Don't you feel
Always,
special?
always. We're very transparent, as it were. So yeah, let's get straight
Right?
to
Yeah. Ring introductions are out of the way.
so it's time for the lockup. And that means our Raw review for the week or our Sunday pay-per-view review if there is one before we record, which hasn't happened yet.
Not yet.
We will
A
figure it
lot of
out.
these pay per views are going on Saturdays now. So,
Yeah, which
I
I'm
mean,
okay
not
with
all of
that.
them. Yeah, me too. Like, not all of them are doing that. I think, I mean, obviously, you got WrestleMania doing 2 nights now. So, you know, you're at least going to get one there. But most of these are Saturday nights now. And I think, honestly, that's the way Endeavor likes it. You know, that's what they've been doing with UFC for
The whole
ever.
time.
So,
The whole time.
pretty
Yeah.
much the whole time.
Yeah.
So,
So
the whole time, the whole
the whole
time.
time. Yeah. They love that Saturday night slot, man. And I
They
kind of like
do
it.
very much.
It's right in the middle of all my days off. So it's great. Uh, but yeah, here's the lockup. This is our Raw review for the week. And this week we started up with Rhea Ripley. Now, I figured it out, Adam. Last week we were talking about that crazy segment at the end of SmackDown where like Rhea and Naya and all the, or Rhea and Liv and all the other people were at SmackDown where they're not normally at SmackDown.
Right.
That's all because of that event we don't talk about.
Mm,
Because the main champions from each brand are fighting each other at said event. Now they are interacting on both shows, which makes both shows like the brand split part of it with the champions completely moot. Like they're all over the place. Of course, the women's tag team champions are on both shows because there's only one set.
yeah.
But as far as like top men's champions interacting every week on both shows, top women's champions interacting every week on both shows. This show is like 2 or 3 more weeks away. Um, there are going to be some
When's Survivor Series?
I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks after that.
That's pretty quick succession for
It
them.
seems like it. I don't really like the placement of this show I'm not going to be that I don't want to
I
talk
mean,
about.
that's like all in, all out kind of business
Yeah,
right here.
it's seeming like it, and I don't know what's going to be happening for Survivor Series. So I guess we'll see. But so Rhea opens the show. They recap what happened on Friday with her and the Judgment Day and Raquel and Naya and Bailey and Naomi because it was just like a whole big cluster. She calls out Liv and Raquel, but Tiffany Stratton answers and shows up. She tells Rhea that Naya sent a message to stay out of her business or else she would have a problem. Rhea says she'll get her hands on Liv or Raquel, but if not, she can welcome Tiffany back to Raw if that's how things need to go. They get in each other's face, they're jawing back and forth, and then they're interrupted by Liv and Raquel, who attack them from behind and lay them both out. Liv or Raquel actually picks Liv up and basically power bombs her into the two of them outside the ring, like over the top rope and stuff. It's just she like threw her crazy. Um,
She's a
after
big
that,
girl.
yeah, yeah. We move pretty quickly on after that. I mean, Raw being only 2 hours, that pacing it really kicks in. They have a damage control video package, and then we go backstage to Adam Pearce, and Rhea is there asking for a match with Liv and Raquel. But Adam Pearce says it has to be a tag match, so she has to find a partner. Right after he tells her that, Tiffany interrupts them, and instead of saying anything to her, Pearce is just like, "Well, how about her?" And Rhea's like, "Okay, that'll work." And Tiffany's like, "What do you mean?" And Pearce just says, "You'll find out," and they walk away from her. So they put her in a tag match and just didn't tell her.
The disrespect.
Yes, the disrespect they're showing Tiffy time is actually getting on my nerves now that I'm a fan of hers. I'm like, all right, this is Miss Money in the Bank we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Suddenly it's
Yeah, just go
important.
see her. Go look at her social media posts. You'll be brought right back down to earth.
I'm sure I will. I'm sure I will. I don't
Yeah,
want to. I hate when I start liking a wrestler because I'll eventually come across their social media and I might not be impressed by it. And if I'm not, it kind of messes it up for me. So I just try to avoid that as much as possible now.
then definitely
Um,
avoid it.
oh, one of those. Okay. So after that, we have Jade and Bianca versus Damage Control, but it's one of those weird ones again. Those things I don't like where they did like Damage Control's entrance, and then when they came back from they did the entrance and then went to commercial, and then when they came back from commercial, we've got JD McDonough and Finn talking to Adam Pearce, and Finn demands a rematch with Damian. Pierce says there will be no rematch because they have obligations in the tag team division and they need to get to work. Finally,
Yeah.
Adam Pierce or somebody back in WWE looking is like, hey, did we forget we have tag belts? you know, but he informs them right then that he has set up a tournament to find the next contender for the titles, which hell yes, feed me all the tournaments.
Yeah.
I love them. But then we
Attorneys
go,
for life.
yeah. So, but then that's like a 30-second, 45-second segment. Then we're back to the ring, and Damage Control's music was still playing. And they're standing in the ring. So, however long, I mean, they literally started their entrance before this is a live show. They started their entrance before the commercial, probably did 60 to 120 of commercial, then another 30 to 45 of segment.
Why couldn't they have switched to that?
I just don't know why they
They
couldn't have
should
done
have
the
went
segment
into
after the match.
or the segment as they went into commercial.
Yeah, or yeah, just not done the entrance yet. Like
Yeah.
maybe they didn't want to do two segments back to back, but honestly, this decision they're making with the pacing, I'm not a big fan. We'll talk about it later. But yeah, so they come back. We've got Jaden Bianca versus Damage Control for the titles. Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson are ringside. They hit Io Sky and set up Bianca's finisher, and Jaden Bianca retain. There was a crazy pop up instant, like Io Sky popped up Kyrie saying like she was going to do a pop up power bomb, and she landed it out with with an insane elbow. It was really cool, man.
Oh
Like,
yeah, I saw a clip of that. That's
yeah,
amazing.
it was really cool. And
God,
then
Kyrie's got the best elbow right
she
now.
does, she
Oh my
does.
gosh, it looks amazing.
But also,
Looks better live too.
But also we got Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson ringside. I'm guessing that. I mean, I said they had the it factor, and WWE did bring them out to face the champions just kind of randomly last week, but now they're ringside at the champions matches. Now there's a thing going on. They have a group called Meta 4, like Meta
Yeah,
4.
yeah.
I don't know who
I'm
the other two
kind of
people
worried.
are. I
I
haven't
think they're
seen the other
dudes,
two people.
right?
I don't know. They're from
I think they're
NXT.
dudes.
They did mention this week that they're from NXT, and since I don't watch NXT, of course I don't know who these people are, which is why I didn't know who they were last week when they showed up. But obviously they're here to stay, I guess, because they're taking on they're going after the women's tag team champions. Then we recapped Bloodline's assault on
Oh, yeah.
Roman.
The other two are Oro Mensa and Noam Dar.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. But then after that we had a Bloodline assault on Roman from Friday. They did the recap of that. And then there was an American Made vignette. So it's Gable and the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile, who all of them are scary individuals. Together, they should be scary, but they're not. It's kind of goofy when they're together.
Hmm.
Um, the only note I made about this while watching it was, why is everybody except Gable dry? Why does Gable look so sweaty? In the vignette, like Ivy's just standing there, like the Ivy and the Creed brothers are standing, kind of behind Gable, and he's giving this like fiery promo, but he's sweating his ass off. And none of them are. Like, they talk in different parts of the vignette, and they're all just dry as a bone. And then you get to Gable, and it's like he went and worked out and nobody else did, or something. I don't know.
I think he's trying to impress Triple H.
Maybe
Triple H was always wet
Gable
all the
sure was
time.
wet. Like, it was enough for me to be like, why is he so sweaty? Um,
Yeah.
so then we had a Braun Breaker promo. He says, so everybody's been kind of dogging him about coming back and attacking Jey Uso after showing him respect. And he says that Jay lucked into a lottery with his family, and he's apparently and then he's incensed about it because Jay doesn't respect him like he respects Jay. He says he's doing this on his own without his family's name, not like Jay. He says Jay wanted to do it on his own, so now he's going to take this ass kicking on his own too, and his family can't save him. Which says to me that his family's probably going to save him. WWE be telegraphing y'all. So,
Yeah,
um,
SOS on that one.
yeah, I like Braun Breaker. This it was just kind of a basic promo. Like, it's all stuff we knew already. Like, you know, I because he's already said the whole "I do this without my family name. I'm not relying on the Steiner name to make my way in this company." So the fact that he keeps like circling back to hit that, like, do we know already? That's why your name isn't Steiner. Like, we know.
Seems like someone doth protest too much.
Maybe. I
It's
don't
like,
know.
maybe is that his character? Is that what they want to press, that he's just really insecure?
It would be really hilarious if like they had like his dad and his uncle ringside for like his next shot at Jay.
Yeah,
If it's Jay who he goes after, who he gets the shot with for the actual title.
yeah.
But it would be funny if they were at ringside and like Jay Powders for some reason, and then Rick or Scott or both of them just like shit can him, and that's the reason Braun won. Like, because then that makes sense. Like, I do this without my family. Oh, do you? Because you didn't.
Oh, do you?
Oh, do you? Yeah, like,
Mm.
yeah, like that. Then it kind of makes this whole part of this make sense. But I don't know. He keeps harping on this a lot. Then
Do
we
you
had.
do you think when they finally bring up Lexus King from NXT, they'll be put together in a tag team of "We're not our dads"?
Well, I mean, obviously Lexus King isn't
We
Brian
don't like our
Pillman.
dad's name.
Brian Pillman never had that kind of beard game. I'm sorry. He had all the ring talent in the world, but he never had a beard game like his kid.
No, he who was it? He said, was it Mello? I think it was. His hooked him up with a particular barber to do all his crazy hair things.
Dude's got the most glorious mullet. ever seen in my life. So I can't hate.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
dude's kind of talented. I wouldn't say he's as talented as his dad,
when
but
I
like,
talk about him or his dad on Twitter, he retweets me. So thank
eh,
you, Lexus King.
fair enough.
That's one reason why I'll always be a fan. He's one of the very first AEW guys when he was in AEW to retweet me when I said
Yeah.
anything. And I
He
was like, hell
looks
yeah.
just like his dad too.
Oh, hell
Like
yeah, he
it's
does.
spitting image. I saw him on an indie show once, and I thought it was a ghost that they were welcoming to the ring.
If
It
he had a
was
perm, it would be over.
uncanny. Yeah,
Like somebody, it would
uncanny.
be a hilarious rib if you got him a perm and then just like had him cross pass with Steve Austin in the back somewhere.
Hey, Steve.
Hey Steve, and just watch Austin like turn white as a ghost and crap himself like, oh no, it's a ghost.
No, no, you have to have.
Or did I die?
No,
What
you
the
know what
hell?
it. You know what it would have to be. You would have to do it on Netflix where they're not going to be rated as stringently, and it would need to be a gun. It would need to be a gun.
Steve! It would be great.
And then he threatens to shoot it, and then it's like a little flag that says
Oh, the bang bang
Lexus
flag.
King
Like
316 or
yeah,
something.
Lexus
Like I don't know.
316, the flag like on
Yeah,
the fence. Oh, that'd be great.
yeah.
It'd be great.
That way you call back two things.
Oh god, that was so. Oh, it'd be so great.
Call back two
Yeah,
things.
but that
But
yeah, that
please
definitely has
don't.
to happen on Netflix.
But please don't go all the way with it. Don't please. I don't want to see Steve Austin pee his pants.
No,
I don't want that. Please don't let me see that. Don't go that far, guys. We're
but
giving you free advice here. We're not going to ask for anything in return, but like, don't go all the way. You don't need to. Now that Vince isn't there to get off on the scatological humor, you don't need to go there. So don't,
nope,
please. We don't
don't
want
do
it.
it. We don't want it. We don't. Nobody wants it.
Thanks,
Nobody.
Hunter. Thanks for
All right.
understanding. We
So
know you're
then
so much better about this kind of stuff.
he is. He is. So okay. So after the Braun Breaker promo, there's a lot of video packages on Raw this week. A lot of promos, a lot. Like
This week,
we'll talk about this
in
a little bit.
general,
Yeah, it
across the
feels like
board,
across the board.
AEW
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
So after we got to the Braun Breaker promo, we get to Bronson Reed and Adam Pearce having a sit down face to face. Big ups to Bronson Reed for the Vader shirt. Bing.
Oh, he's wearing a Vader
He was
shirt.
wearing a Vader shirt, which I love
Vader's.
that.
Oh,
I love
love
Vader.
it,
I
love it,
love the
love it.
callback. I love that Bronson Reed is embracing his Vaderishness because he is very Vaderish. Like
I just need to see
I
him do a
hope you see that,
moonsault.
dude. I do too. I hope you see that as a compliment, big man. I hope you hear this, Mr. Bronson Reed. I am calling you like Vader in the best way possible. So I hope you appreciate
Absolutely,
that for what it is.
dude. That guy. Oh, he was the first wrestler that I was afraid of. Like,
Amen.
like he was. I had never seen anything like Vader in his early days in WCW, where he just brutalized Sting and Cactus Jack, and like he was
But
scary as heck. He kicked. I mean, give Hogan credit. He let him kick out of the leg drop at one point. Like,
mm-hmm.
ooh, like I mean, after that he didn't do
Nobody
him
does
any
that.
favors. But
Yeah.
like, I
Dude,
mean,
he
that
beat
was
Mick Foley into a face.
yeah.
Cactus Jack was a heel. A lot of people forget that before Cactus Jack and Vader had their run, Cactus Jack was a heel. He was a bad guy. He was part of like the Legion of Doom and like all this other stuff. Like he was a bad guy, and he was kind of
He
scary,
was
kind of crazy.
tag
He was
team
Cactus
partners with
Jack
Kevin
Manson.
Sullivan.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
Cactus Jack Manson. Like he had a serial killer's last name. He was supposed to be a bad guy. Vader brutalized him so hard he became a good guy. Like,
yeah,
like I
yeah.
don't remember when the turn happened. I just remember like I had this bad guy who
I
used to
think it
dive out on the
was
floor and stuff, and then one day this other bad guy showed up who was so much worse.
yeah, and who just laid in with real shots and just gave him concussions
Yeah,
and power bombed him onto the floor of the concrete. Like, just it was one of those things where nobody wants to see somebody brutalized that badly.
right.
Nobody. People do have more sympathy than I think we often give credit because the world is a mess. But like you can elicit that sympathy for a bad guy if you beat them up enough. Like, that's how babyface turns generally happen, actually.
Yeah. So they're face to face. Adam Pierce is in like street clothes. They're obviously somewhere like off campus doing this. They're having the meeting to get on the same page. Basically, this whole thing is about being on the same page. And the same page for them is Seth or Bronson wants to fight Seth Rollins. Bronson's pushing for the match with Seth. Um, Pierce says he'll give him the match, and there will be no. Or he says he asked Pierce to give him the match, and there will be no trouble. Adam Pierce says, "I want to make sure we're on the same page. I'll talk to Seth, and we'll see where we go." So basically, Bronson Reed is threatening, like, "Hey, like hey, shit's gonna get bad again if you don't just give me what I want." Which fair enough. He's a giant. You kind of want to give the guy what he wants. Also, it's very non-threatening for a guy that big to have like a New Zealander accent or an Australian accent. It makes him.
Yeah,
I feel like it makes him less threatening, but his actions have
yeah,
100% like kept him in the
yeah.
threatening column.
It's especially, I feel it's especially um impressive considering like they're letting him do all this stuff when he's not really all that tall.
No,
Like
he's not a
I don't
big dude.
even think he's 6 feet. If we're being honest, he's probably billed at 6 feet, but he's probably not.
He's athletic
He's
as
just
all
a
hell.
big
So
dude who's athletic and
mm-hmm.
who's dummy thick
Dummy thick.
and like it would hurt to get a tsunami.
Oh, it sure would.
So don't get me wrong, but like he's uh who was it said something about Gunter about how he wrestles bigger than he is.
Yeah,
Bronson has that same quality. He wrestles bigger than he actually is, and because of that, you believe him as a threat.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, I mean,
yeah.
if you're throwing around Braun Strowman through doors and stuff, like yeah, no, I'm gonna believe you.
Oh yeah, yeah, for
I'm gonna
sure.
believe you.
Braun won that
I've
match.
seen
He's
that guy
still
flip ambulances.
yeah,
So
right, right. I love their big man on big man feud thing they got going on. Like I know it's there. They moved past it now, and like Bronson took the loss, but he's still looking good in the end. So
yeah,
like, it's a good one. Then we had a number one contender tag title match. Their first round match for that. The number one contender to the tag title tournament that they're doing. Like they have basically immediately started it after announcing it. Um, and we had Akira and Otis from American Alpha. They're still calling themselves American Alpha. I don't know why. Versus the returning War Raiders, which is Ivar, whose name I don't remember what it was before he was Ivar.
he was Ivar was he Hanson or Rowe?
Hanson. He's Hanson because
He's
Eric
Hanson.
is Raymond Death Row.
Okay.
And God, are they still terribly so Ivar's still moving, cartwheeling and shit as a big dude. Um, the match ends when Eric Ray Rowe. I love Ray Death Row, man. Like he came and worked the indie here a
Yeah.
while back when I was refereeing, and he's had like a fantastic dude, really nice. The exact opposite of what he looks like because he looks like
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I love him though, great dude.
They
But
seem like good dudes from what I saw in like Ride Along and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah, he's a
They
really
seem
nice
like
guy.
real good dudes.
But he wasn't very nice to Akira Tozawa because he picked up Akira Tozawa. Ivar got on the top rope, and Ivar did a dive off the top rope, and Eric threw Akira Tozawa underneath him, like in midair. So like that's
That's
their new
super dangerous.
yeah, but he
Holy cow.
basically killed him, and so they win. War Raiders advance to round two. Um, then we had a Dragon Lee vignette. Or no, wait. We had a oh gosh, my notes skipped forward. Okay, so then after that, Pierce and Seth went face to face. Pierce says he's apprehensive to make the match because Seth has had 6 matches in the last year and he hasn't been healthy for any of it, which is actually true. Seth says you fight through your injuries. He basically went on this long rant about, in this business, you get injured and you fight through injuries, and that happens. Blah blah blah. Seth says Pierce has forgotten the reason he's at the top, and then he needs this fight with Reed. He tells Pierce to think about it. So he's talked to both guys, and there's a think about it coming. So we're going to get Seth versus Bronson Reed. That's going to happen. Probably at Redacted.
Yeah.
Then we had a Cody Rhodes in ring promo. He talks about his history with St. Louis and the "We Want Cody" chants, how that's where they started. Gunther interrupts him, and then they kind of do a promo battle against one another about said redacted event. The promos were good,
And
but
yeah.
it's just the end game that they're promoting for. I'm like, damn it, like why? I want this match. They're really building me to want it, and I
Yeah.
like out of like my moral compass says boycott. Can't do it. So
Yeah.
it sucks. I do want to see this match. I do want to see Cody versus Gunther. I wish
Or
it was
just
on
watch it on
Survivor
YouTube
Series.
once they upload
I might,
it.
yeah. I'll watch it clip by clip, 15 seconds at a time on Twitter, so that some rando creator gets paid.
Yeah.
I don't care. But just not Saudi Arabia. Anyway, then after that, we had a New Day recap from last week, highlighting the tension between Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston that is still continuing. Then we had a big old Dragon Lee vignette where they like had him talking about his history, and then he like turns into a dragon at the end. It was kind of cool. Not
All
something
right.
I expected for Dragon Lee, but it was 45 seconds or so. After that, we had Kofi versus Braun Breaker. Basic match with Braun taking the win, of course. Afterward, he tried to put a beat down on Kofi, but Xavier ran him off. But then he came back and laid Xavier out. But then Jey Uso showed up and beat on Braun a little bit before sending him back. And so right now, Jay's standing tall in the Jay versus Braun thing. Then Rhea and Damien had a short segment. Damien asked if she wanted him out there, but she says no, it's okay. They handed him taking a shot at Gunther. He says as long as she has beef, he has beef. And then they do their little, Spanish homie thing that they do and part ways. Then after that, we have R-Truth versus The Miz. Truth beat Miz in about 4 minutes with a roll up. Then after that, he's literally like celebrating and hugging the Miz and stuff because he still doesn't understand that Miz hates him. And then the Final Testament showed up. Truth is like dancing to the back, and he dances past the Final Testament. And after he does that, Karrion Kross tells AOP to go get him, and they go down the aisle and they grab him up and throw him back in the ring. And Miz does a skull crushing finale on him. I still don't know if Miz is going to join up with Final Testament. I still don't know if that's going to be a compatible thing. Just it's a group of badasses and like arguably and a really good
It would
chicken shit heel. It didn't work. It doesn't jive to me.
it it would be a really interesting thing to see if Miz could do something like that with his character. Like, I mean, his wrestling style doesn't really that's not really compatible, but uh because I mean he's not there's a reason that he only got his first real WWE injury like 2 years ago. Like
Yeah,
he wrestles very safely, to the point where, I mean, it's not the most realistic looking style, but nobody gets hurt.
right.
I mean, that's the most important thing at the end of the day is you don't want anybody to get hurt.
Yeah,
Um, I think at this point in his career, he could stand to take a few chances with his character. See if, I mean, if he could fit there, great. If he doesn't, you don't have to continue with it. But I say, give him a chance. Like, he might surprise you. He continues to find ways to stay relevant,
that's
even
true.
at the advanced point in his career that he's at. Like, the dude's been with the company since what, 2005 or so,
Something like that. It's been a long
something like
time.
that. He's got a long tenure.
Come up on 2 decades without being seriously
Yeah,
injured or any of that. Like,
yeah. He had one serious injury that like was like 2 years ago, something like that, maybe a year ago. It was relatively recent. Like he doesn't, despite the travel, he never got injured. He does all of the press, all of the media stuff. Like you couldn't really ask for a better ambassador,
Yeah.
really, for WWE than The Miz. And I feel
Mhm.
like they kind of shortchange him a lot
Yeah.
for given how loyal he's been and how he doesn't say no to anything or how he's willing to make himself look like an absolute goon. Like, uh,
Yeah.
throw the dude a bone. Maybe this is a way. Maybe this is their way of throwing him a bone, letting him do something outside his normal
Mhm.
expectations.
Yeah.
I say give it a shot.
Yeah. But then, so after that, we got Jimmy backstage looking for Jey Uso. He finds him. He asks Jay to listen. Jay says no and tells him to leave him alone. And then he leaves. Like it's real short. Yeah, Jimmy's just like kind of sticking his head in to different rooms and finds Jay. And Jay's like, nah, I ain't talking. Get the hell out of here. Then after that, we got our main event Rhea and Tiffany versus Liv and Raquel. Um, Pretty basic match until about 7 minutes in. Nia interrupts. Rhea headbutts her and goes to slam, but Liv cuts out her knee. Liv then attacks Ripley and throws her out, but Nia attacks and lays out Liv. Um, then Tiffany goes for a cash in on Liv Morgan, and
Is
Dom
she
pulls
allowed
her.
to do that?
And she's the Mrs. Money in the Bank. She can.
No, but I mean, that's not her brand.
I don't know. I thought Money in the Bank was for any title, anytime.
I don't know.
So but yeah, she goes for a cash in on Liv. She's literally handing the referee the briefcase, and Dom pulls Liv out of the ring and carries her to the back, and that's how the show ends. So I guess like even though these are anytime, any place contracts across all of the companies, something as small as the person getting powdered out of the ring or losing their pin can cause these contracts to be null and void for 10 minutes apparently. I don't know, but that's what happened again. Like she could have like she said, oh yeah, I want the shot right now. Dom pulls her out of the ring, big effing deal, jump out, grab her out of his arms, throw her back in the ring and pin her. um but no, Dom's got her, so she's safe. She can't be cashed in on now somehow, because that literally interrupted the cash in. So yeah, that was how the show ended. Couple things I like. I freaking love Bronson Reed. I'm starting to be a real big fan of his. We already kind of went over like the whole Vader
Mm.
comparison and stuff like that, so I'm a big fan of his. I kind of like tension between Jimmy and Jey Uso. I want it to end soon though because we see how the match turns out at the end. Um, Something I didn't like. I don't. I don't like the pacing. I just don't like this going to
It's
commercial.
temporary.
Yeah, I know it's temporary, but it just throws me off. That going to commercial and then like entrance commercial, unrelated promo back to the match. I don't. I don't
It
like it
seems
when they do that.
disrespectful,
It does.
honestly.
I feel that way too. I feel that way too.
Like
So
it's like you got it's like those ladies are just standing in the ring through 3.5 to 4 minutes of commercials and 2 to 3 minutes of a segment. What? Doing what? Like if you have to have the commercial in there, that's fine. But like what's the deal with the segment? That's lame.
yeah, and you know, I think the other thing that I liked about it, man, see, I really like Bronson Reed and that stuff. Oh, this is easy. I love that the War Raiders are back.
Yeah.
I love that they've ditched the Viking gimmick for the most part. Like they still like like they're still wearing like the tights, but not like they're not doing the headdresses or the furry vests or any of that other stuff. Valhalla wasn't here this time. I do really like Sarah Logan. I hope she comes
Is
back.
she still on maternity leave?
Maybe on maternity leave. I think that might actually be the case. So, you
I
know,
know she was pregnant, but I don't know how long ago she had the baby.
yeah, I'm not sure, but more power to her for that. So, I mean, go out there, live life. I hope to see her back with them because she fits really good with them, and she's married to one of them. So,
Yep.
I don't know which one.
Row.
Row. Oh, it's Row. Okay, well,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so I hope she comes back. I know she'll be back with them, of course. I do like that they've toned down the Viking part of it a lot. Um, and that new finisher of theirs was. I mean,
I'll have to go look it up.
it obviously can only be done on like small enough people to throw, but
Mhm.
holy crap, man! Like he basically threw him into the path of a moving bus. Like that's just basically how it looked.
Oh,
Except
they
that bus
darbied
was
him.
coming off. Yeah, he darbied him. Except that bus was coming off the top rope. So yeah, it was gnarly. But yeah, I mean, overall, Raw this week. Other than that pacing issue that I just can't seem to get over myself internally, which more power to you if you like it. If you don't, and you're with me, cool. But other than that pacing issue, the wrestling was good. What wrestling there was a lot of um, there was a lot of promos and a lot of video packages, but I thought the video packages and promos were all really well done. Even the ones that are about events that, I mean, I'm not going to ever cover the end of what's happening with these promos, but they're
Yeah.
good. Like the Gunther and Cody promo thing, like I could live on Gunther and Cody promos. I could. Like I don't even. I mean, I want the match, but I don't need it. They could promo against each other forever. It's kind of like Punk and Drew. Like they're very, very
Yeah.
intriguing promoing against each other. So um, I really enjoyed most of Raw. Like I thought it was good. Um, they're obviously doing something with Lash and Jakara, which they also have a little bit of a hand to play to SmackDown too. So we'll talk a little bit more about them on the SmackDown view because it's a little bit more prevalent on that side. So that's where I'm saving the stuff for them. But yeah, other than that, Raw was really good this week. I thought it was a good one. Thumbs up for me overall. But yeah, that's our lockup Raw review for the week, and now it's time to tag in for the Shine. Take her away.
All right, Shine coming at you right here. I'm gonna try and speed through this. I know I've said that for 3 weeks in a row. This makes it 4. We'll see how quickly I can get through this and still be entertaining and informative. So Dynamite opens up with let's see. Yeah, there are 3 segments before we even get to a match. Like I think this is the second week in a row where Dynamite has opened up with not a match.
Yeah.
Um, it was a pre-tape with the whatever we're calling the BCC. Now they're not really. They made mention that they don't really know what to call them anymore because it's not the Blackpool Combat Club. So they're like each commentator is like giving their kind of own filler name for it,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of suggests to me that I don't even know if they know what they're gonna call them.
It doesn't seem like it.
Either way, Moxley and his crew are in a parking lot or something. It's pre-tape. It says he wants AEW to be the land of opportunity, hates what it's become. Honestly, essentially, he just says that he hates fun, which I guess is as good a heel character as you're going to get. Like, yeah, who can't get behind who can't get in front of a guy that hates fun, you know? um, he's going to burn down the forest and plant a new one. It's not sentimental. Basically saying you're with us or against us, and the new AEW paradigm shift is you work for me now. Echoing what he said to Tony Schiavone a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
Segment number 2 is Adam Cole, baby, comes to the ring for an in-ring promo. Story time. He explains that the Undisputed Kingdom is going to be doing their own thing. He's kind of separated from them, which is interesting because it seems like the UK is almost in the middle of a babyface turn. So they're all going to be baby faces, maybe, but they're not together.
Yeah.
But he said that he has to do this on his own, finish this thing with MJF. He's the worst human that he's ever met. Sometimes you have to fight evil with evil, and anyone who trusts guys like MJF is stupid, which, fair play. Uh, calls him fake in one word. He talks up AEW, the young guys coming up and stuff like that. He challenges MJF, whose music hits, but he only appears on the screen. He blames Cole for his trust issues, avoids any responsibility, refuses to give him the satisfaction of revenge, but Cole promises to get it anyway. So MJF is going to avoid the match. Cole is going to pursue the match. It's going to be a cat and mouse for a little bit.
Yep.
Segment number 3, another pre-taped interview of Jericho with Renee. Jericho says he feels vindicated because, while he was in Terrifier 3, which is making big money and getting good ratings for the independent film that it is. And even though I guess he's only in like 2 minutes of it.
That's a cameo.
And then, his Fozzy tour is going well. He said, but Mark Briscoe had to cheat to win, which is, I mean, technically true, but Jericho was trying to cheat the whole match, so, basic heel stuff. He says he wants a rematch and again does the thing that I'm not a huge fan of, bringing up Jay. Like he wants to
Man.
be a two-time Ring of Honor champion, just like Jay. Um, that was a pre-tape, and then it switches to a live interview with Renee, with Mark Briscoe, who says, "Yeah, okay, you want a rematch? Fine, you'll get your rematch next week on AEW Dynamite in a ladder war." So,
Oh,
yeah, for those uninitiated, a ladder war is a very different thing than a ladder match.
this.
They may seem very similar, but if you've ever seen any of the original incarnation of Ring of Honor's ladder wars, specifically the ones with Kevin Steen and El Generico, um,
Oh,
it's it's going to be a car crash, even more so than probably any TLC match that you could think of. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be violent. There are going to be ladders everywhere, and it's going to have Mark Briscoe in it, so it's going to be great.
oh yeah.
I trust a Briscoe in a ladder war.
Yes, I do. I do too. I do too. I think it's going to be a brilliant match. I'm actually super
Yeah,
stoked for that one,
yeah,
man.
me
I
too.
really
I,
am.
I mean, if that doesn't main event next week's Dynamite, I don't know what they're thinking. Like,
There's
I
no
can't
way
believe
that doesn't main event. Like,
I'm can't believe I'm advocating for Chris Jericho to get any kind of main event right now since I'm so tired of him. But yeah, this needs to be the main. Like,
I'm not
there's no other
advocating for
way.
Chris Jericho to get a main event. I'm advocating for Mark Briscoe to get a main event, and that's how I'm going to
Yeah,
justify
that's how we're gonna justify it.
it.
Finally, we get our first match, and FTR, rare appearance on Dynamite Wrestling, they go up against Big Bill and Brian Keith. This is benefiting the folks in Asheville, North Carolina, the hurricane victims. They got stranded there. We were completely surrounded by water. So this was to raise awareness of the various funds that are going to help those poor, unfortunate folks. So I'm all for that, obviously. Heels dominated most of it right from the start. They continue to project, or not project, protect Large William. Like they've been booking him in these matches so well. They've been protecting him so he looks like an absolute monster. As somebody that big should be,
Oh
even if
yeah.
he is just wrestling in jeans. But eventually he eats a ring post and a tornado DDT onto the floor, and FTR hits the Shatter Machine on Brian Keith to end it. Afterwards, La Facción Ingobernable looks on from the back, and then the Outrunners show up and they do the Predator handshakes, and it's great.
Hell yeah. That was great.
That segment number 4, Renee interviews the acclaimed Billy Gunn. Gunn says they're about to hit the gym, then leaves to get the car running. The Acclaim want more and more and more, and then MVP shows up, offering assistance on if they want to get serious, but they wave him off. Neither one wants to take him seriously. So I'm guessing at some point, whatever the Hurt Syndicate eventually looks like as a full unit, there's going to be a tag team element of that that's going to immediately feud with the Acclaimed. I hope that it includes Bobby Lashley so that, I keep pushing for this. Bobby Lashley should absolutely murk Max Caster. Like
Yes,
he really should.
He
And
should.
they should draw on that for for motivation. They should draw on that Bobby Lashley's sister sketch from 2018 or whenever it was, 2017.
Yeah.
Like they should do that. Why not? Why not? They don't have the footage for it, but I mean, you can look it up. They can even say, if you want to know why I'm after you, you can look up what happened when you impersonated my family, and then everybody else can do the rest.
Yeah.
Do it
Yeah.
on
They
their
don't
own.
even have, yeah, they don't have to show it or anything. Those of us who
No,
know, we saw that
yeah,
terrible shit.
yeah.
um, so, yeah,
I
I mean,
was in that. I was in that audience live. That was in Albany. I went
no,
with my dad. That was the worst Raw I've ever been to.
Oh
It was
man, and the one to
it
take your
was the
dad's.
drizzlings. Like
Hey,
it was awful. It was
oh,
diarrhea on a plate. It was
not
awful.
surprised. I'm not surprised.
I had fun with my dad, don't get me wrong, but like that was rough. Not even Sami
Yeah.
Zayn could save that crap. Um yeah, match number 2 starts and it's Mercedes Monet versus Queen Aminata. Uh recap from their interaction in the hallway at Wrestle Dream. Camille immediately tries to trip up Aminata and she gets you know involved throughout the thing. Uh, immediately regrets trying to attack Camille on the outside. Mercedes makes her pay for it. Honestly, despite Camille's interference, though, there were more chance for uh, Mercedes than there were for uh, Queen Aminata. You got to get her on TV more. You got to get her more established so that that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
There was a really, really cool submission hold by Aminata that went into a rolling cradle for 2. I thought that was some really good counter wrestling. Aminata's really grown a lot. Um, but in the end, Mercedes uses the statement maker for the win. Nigel had a great line. He said, "That's not just a work of art. That's a Monet." I thought that was great.
Uh, yeah.
That was great. That's honestly, she should take that line and use it. That,
Yeah.
that's a better line than her own catchphrase.
It is.
Honestly,
It is.
she should swipe that. And the first time she does it, Nigel's like, "Yeah, that was me." Like he should be like beaming, just so proud that she decided to use it. So
Yeah.
put both of them over. Segment number 5 recap. Wrestle Dream tag title match. Pretty much what it says on the tin. Segues into an interview with Renee, who's got her working boots on today with both teams. Private Party congratulates the Young Bucks, but they want another shot. Bucks say, "That doesn't work for us, brothers." They actually do say that.
Yeah, I saw.
That's not a paraphrase. That was an actual quote. Maybe not in that tone, but they did. Stokely Hathaway comes in. He's rubbing it in, trying to wedge a wedge between the two guys, saying that Zay's probably the guy who's gonna be the single star anyway. But you know what you should do? If you want that bad, you should just the next time you challenge for the belts, put your tag team career on the line. He's like, maybe that's what we gotta do. I'm like, no, that's not what you have to do. Like, I know I'm not in your corner on this. I actually enjoy Stokely Hathaway, but this did not make sense to me. It was like, why would no? Why? You don't have to do that, Zay. You don't.
No.
When we come back from the commercial, segment number 6, tape backstage promo with the Elite. They were celebrating Kenny Omega's birthday, but it said "Happy Birthday, bitch," or Okada said that afterwards. Perry's like, "Happy birthday or die. I don't really care." Like, oof,
ah,
that's
yeah.
cold. Like,
Yeah, it was
I
real
mean,
cold.
I mean, say what you want about Jack Perry. He's very very much treading this edge lord line here, but like that was the real deal. Like, okay, you want to be taken seriously as a heel, being apathetic about somebody's life or death. Okay, yeah, you're definitely a heel.
Mm-hmm. I
Match
definitely don't
number
like
3,
him.
yeah, the conglomeration versus the Elite. I mean, they were definitely setting up O'Reilly versus Okada throughout the whole thing. Um, they were taking turns doing the 10 punches on Matt Jackson in the corner. It was O'Reilly and then what can't I think of his name? Asuka, and then Orange Cassidy does it, and then it's just one punch. And
And yeah,
it's like it
one.
was like, and then he's like, it was great. Um, the Young Bucks are very over in San Jose. Not surprising. Southern California is Young Bucks territory. Uh, there were some cool spots. There was one with a guillotine into a top rope elbow that was cool. Um, uh, O'Reilly tags while the Bucks pump up their sneakers. I thought that was funny. They were gonna pump up to do the super kick party, but O'Reilly recovers while they're still pumping up, and he's like looking around like, okay, I guess I'll just tag OC him before they before they were able to turn around and notice. And then the finish comes when Wheeler Yuta comes out of nowhere and attacks Orange Cassidy for the DQ finish. The Elite powder and let BCC pick up the bones. Um, yeah, this was just an extended thing, a huge breakout brawl fracas. Top Flight came in, they got jobbed out. Dark Order comes in, but at least just the Elite just kind of watched from the ramp. Alex Reynolds gets hanged with his own belt.
Yeah, that was that's
Like
rough.
Mox says, anyone associated with AEW is a target as the cost of doing business. So, um, yeah, Private Party and Daniel Garcia and they all come out after the BCC attack. Uh, it was pointed out on commentary that Darby Allin was unreachable. It was implied that he was inconsolable after he couldn't help Brian Danielson at
Yeah.
Wrestle Dream, which Darby's a man with big feelings.
Hmm.
Has no shame about it, makes no secret about it. I buy that. I
Yeah.
would buy that. Um, Next one segment, the Elite is in the back, but Daniel Garcia takes them to task for letting all that happen, and they established an alliance between Private Party and Daniel Garcia.
Okay.
Next up, just a recap of the Swerve MVP segment from the last week's show. Next was Leo Rush versus Shelton Benjamin. This match was great. Shelton Benjamin is not a small dude. He's like 6'2", 6'3", jacked. But
Yeah.
even I think, since he spent a lot of time on the Indies, and he spent some time in New Japan. But even then, I think he was not usually the bigger guy in most of his matches. So to see him paired up against somebody like Leo Rush, who's like what 5'6" at best,
Yeah.
maybe,
Maybe
but
140
who's like,
pounds. Like,
yeah, like dude is crazy talented, but there was a definite size disparity
oh yeah.
that you don't usually see with Shelton Benjamin matches.
I noticed that
You
too. I was
know,
like, Shelton's usually like just an average sized dude, and
yeah,
he looks like a freaking monster next to
yeah.
Leo Rush.
And in this match, by his wrestling, he looked like a monster too. Like
Yeah.
he just ragdolled Leo for like 75% of it. And Leo did a great job of coming up from underneath. Um, there was a top rope hip toss, I think it wanted to be like a belly to belly, but it wound up being more like a hip toss. It set up a bunch of German suplexes, and probably the most vicious super kick I have ever seen.
Oh
He
yeah.
just absolutely, like, I'm surprised Leo's head is still on his body.
He
Um,
definitely made direct contact with his face.
yeah,
Like it was
absolutely.
ugly. Oh,
Yeah, it was.
but beautiful. Like when I
Yeah.
say ugly about a wrestling move, I mean
Oh,
awesome.
but even before that, I don't think I've ever seen somebody get whipped to the corner getting a fecal chant before. Like Leo got whipped all the way to the corner, and he sold it like he jumped into the ring post through the top and middle ropes, and just kind of like spiraled out to the floor, and it looked gruesome and
Oh yeah.
beautiful. Like it was just like it garnered so much sympathy for him. It was great. I
Hmm.
hope he's okay though, because you can't be taking that kind of bubble all the
No, not all the
time.
time. Damn.
The finish comes with the return of the exploder power slam thing that he used way back when, before he started using the flatliner, which, like, okay, is it just me, or does like every black guy in WWE use a flatliner, a leaping flatliner as a finish at some point? R-Truth uses it. MVP used it. Shelton Benjamin used it. All of those guys used a leaping flatliner as a finish at one point.
That's
It's
true.
like was that just designated? Oh, you're an athletic black dude. Here, let's give you the leaping flatliner. Like, is there something racial going on here? Because I don't
I
see
don't
anybody else using it.
I don't know, man. I see a lot of little things that I could be like, is there something racial going on here? And then I'm like, I need to ignore that.
Yeah,
Like, and not like a injustice type of thing, but like, do you notice that the Hurt Syndicate is targeting specific people?
yeah. Well, I mean, that's not really a surprise. I mean,
I
given
mean,
their
they are like a
agenda.
traditionally like a
Yeah.
okay,
I
okay.
mean,
I mean,
there
I didn't.
remember when they first started out and people were talking about, oh, this is like a nation 2.0. There's a reason for
Ah,
that.
okay. So that okay.
There's
So
a
that
reason for
makes
that.
there's a reason for that, and it makes sense. Okay. See, because I was just
Yeah.
like, I was like, did Tony suddenly turn into Triple H, and now we're just gonna get a faction of each different race? Because
No,
please
I think
no.
it's just I think it's just part of the character, like
Now, see, if
they
that's the way their
I
character works, and that's the way the faction works, and it's like
yeah, it was
an empowerment thing,
yeah. The
specifically
way
for
that
that, cool.
I
Oh yeah.
the way that I had, I think, heard from, I'm not sure if it was MVP or somebody else that was, it was that you didn't see, you know, um, one of the reasons that the hurt business worked so well was because you didn't see these well dressed black athletes in WWE all that often. It was something different. It was I mean, they were all dressed as if they were part of the NFL draft.
Hmm.
Like they dress to the nines. They look good too. Like those guys know how to dress. I certainly don't. They do though. But like that was part of the gimmick. They wanted to be presented as something other than
Yeah,
maybe you had seen traditionally within WWE. And
plenty of examples.
it can be you can infer rather that maybe that's why it ended so soon, was because that image was not something that certain people within the company particularly cared for. Uh,
Right.
you could infer it. I don't know if there's anything behind that whatsoever. I'm not in those rooms. I'm not in those meetings, but like traditionally in this country, black men specifically are seen as threatening by certain very insecure, often old white men when they look like they are achieving the same status that those people are already at.
Hmm.
And the look goes a long way to establishing that. That's why the Nation of Islam, for example, uh, the the impetus, the inspiration for the Nation of Domination in the first place, was seen as so threatening because, for lack of a better phrase, and so forgive me for this, but at the time, the feeling probably amongst the people who this applied to was, oh, those guys are threatening because they look like they've got their crap together. You know,
Hmm.
I think a little bit of that was at play there. My personal opinion. No evidence for that. Gut feeling stuff. You know, I know that MVP himself has implied on social media that he feels that there were elements to the scuttlebutting of the Hurt Business
Hmm.
uh, that were racial in tenor. Um, and I don't know inside anybody's mind again, but I mean, I'm disinclined to not believe MVP who would have been on the end of prejudice his entire life simply by being black in America, and B, being a very intelligent and insightful person. Like you have a you see him in interviews. He's a very, very intelligent person. He has a real sense of is a really good way about sensing a person's motivations and stuff like that. I would believe MVP, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
not because I want to. I would rather that not be true. But like the guy is probably more in tune with it than somebody like myself who is several degrees distance from that particular arrangement. I don't work for WWE. Never have.
Hmm.
Probably never will. Very, very, very unlikely that I ever will. And by the time that I would, even if I would, uh, probably the elements that were there probably wouldn't be there by the time I get there because they're trying, hopefully, to fix some of the things, or at the very least, are probably going to be forced to address some of these things with the Janelle Grants case and probably other lawsuits putting the company under a microscope.
Yeah.
I mean, the same thing happens with the deaths of Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit with the drug problem that they had.
Hmm.
You put them under a microscope, they'll force the change. So, no. Anyway, that was tangential. You can choose whether or not to leave that in the final cut.
I think it's important
So
to talk about that stuff, so I probably will.
sure, but I just know it's going well. That's all.
It's fine.
But yeah, that was that match. Okay, segment number 10 was Tony Hawk and Darby Allin video package. They were signing pics of when they did a little segment a year ago after Darby had broken his ankle. They're doing some signings and selling the signed pics to go to skate parks projects for
Hmm.
to help build. I think it's to help build skate parks in Southern California, if I'm not mistaken.
They build.
Uh,
There's a couple of them like that. They a program like it built a skate park in my hometown. So
cool.
those programs are near
Yeah.
and dear to my heart. I think that's
Yeah.
super cool of them to be doing that
Yeah.
stuff.
I'm not a skater. I've never have been. I am not coordinated enough to do that. But I think it's cool that they're doing that on such a big stage like
Hmm.
that, and they're promoting that. I think that's great. You know, more stuff in the community for kids to do to you know keep them from their screens. I've
Yeah.
got I've got a kid who's addicted to a screen kind of by necessity, but
Yeah.
it wasn't our intention. So if there was that kind of stuff that like he loves going to the trampoline park, so that's where we will take him. But more kind of stuff like that, especially public stuff like this,
Yeah.
is better. Segment number 11, Renee interviews Swerve, who accepts the challenge to face Shelton anytime, anywhere. So we get that in 2 weeks. Fright Night,
Heck yeah.
Fright Night Dynamite. Segment number 12 is in-ring press conference with Don Callis. He's flanked by Lance Archer, who I nearly mistook for Drew McIntyre since he took his dreads out, which is great. White people shouldn't wear dreads. I, it's no, it's a bad look. He looks much better this way. Um, and Brian Cage, brand new Ring of Honor television champion, Brian Cage. So they establish him as part of the Callis family now. Callis says there are no real journalists in pro wrestling, so I should answer all the questions. um, he's going to make Cage and Archer a tag team, which I think is great. Takeshita is going to defend the international title all over the world, challenges everybody. And Fletcher says literally nothing about his motivations. He's like, "You all want to hear me talk? Too bad." Okay. Next is Renee interviewing Mariah May in the back. Mariah complains about literally everything. Anna Jay comes in, and Christopher Daniels tries to break it up, but accidentally gets slapped by Anna Jay. Goes to commercial, comes back. Renee interviews Ricochet, who hasn't been pinned and wants Takeshita one-on-one. He's going to be at Collision to issue an open challenge. The backstage brawl continues in the next segment. They're still attacking people. Marina Shafir is like hanging somebody by his neck with her legs.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Order, Top Flight. Somehow the BCC is still winning despite their numbers disadvantage. Evil Uno challenges the BCC. So does Top Flight on Saturday's Collision. And then finally, the main event is Jay White versus Christian Cage. Nick Wayne baits the Bang Bang Gang into getting caught with a chair and gets them ejected. But the Guns and Juice Robinson do get their revenge before they leave. Christian, I made a note, is no longer jaundiced. Kip Sabian comes out and distracts and costs a spear, but Hangman, from the other side of things, comes out to distract Jay White, but drops down, so he can't see. And this was like the first time that this would happen. And then a Blade Runner is countered with an eye gouge and into a kill switch, which only gets a 2 count. But behind the ref's back, buckshot lariat from Hangman allows Christian Cage to get the win. And Page hides on the side of the ring just like Christian Cage hid a few weeks earlier or a couple months earlier when he helps Hangman beat Page in the Owen tournament. So, like, but he looked more like, oh my gosh, don't catch me. He wasn't as cool and calm and collected as Christian Cage was. Who was just like, no, I know what I'm doing. I am so smart. No, Page was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, am I gonna get caught? Am I gonna get caught? Oh no, don't ground me, don't ground me. Like it was more along those lines.
Yeah.
So stuff I like. I really cannot say enough about the Leo Rush and Shelton Benjamin match. Definitely go check it out. It really established Benjamin as a freaking monster. It was awesome. I like Kip Sabian getting more TV time. I actually like Kip.
Oh yeah, I do too.
Keep him involved in the Christian Cage stuff. I don't know where it's going, but he's on my TV, and that makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
I want to let it breathe, but at this point in time, I'm not really liking the BCC stuff.
No.
You have to establish the heels as monsters, and I get that. But so for the storyline, I accept it, and I want to see where it goes. But feels bad, man.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna lie, it feels bad. It's like, man, you were Moxie used to be fun, and is that the only way that you can get heat because everybody respects you is to just deny people fun and pick on the people who have fun? Like,
No.
I understand that that's probably a direction they had to go in. It's not the direction I prefer.
Nah.
But and then just to finish it off, I like the main event. Main event was great. Jay White has really won me over since signing with AEW. Wasn't like a huge fan of his. I didn't really see what the big deal was before
Mm-hmm.
he signed, but now that I've seen him over and over again, it's really like his character is really smart.
Mm-hmm.
And they always put over on commentary how he's a great counter wrestler, a defensive wrestler. And yeah, I can definitely see that. And that's not a style that a lot of wrestlers adopt. So it makes
Mm-mm.
him very unique and interesting. And Christian Cage continues to prove why he's been amazing and slept on for literal decades. Like the dude
Yeah.
is so good. He knows his role. He knows his part to play. He plays it better than nearly anybody. He's if I had to guess, the person who eventually takes the title off of Mox will be Darby, and then Christian Cage will immediately cash in on Darby and become world champion. That would be my suspicion. He is not going to get anywhere near Mox.
No.
They have established that he is deathly afraid of the BCC. So I don't think you have to worry. I think this is a way for them to write off his contract for the time being and get you to forget about it, so that when he cashes in on Darby, it's going to be like, oh no, I forgot all about him. And then he's going to
Mm-hmm.
get super mega heat because A, it's Darby, and B, because they finally got the belt off of Mox only to put it on another heel.
Yep.
I think that's what's going to happen. And honestly, I'm a pop for that.
Yeah, I
I
will
I'm
too.
down for it. I would rather have Christian Cage as world champion now than John Moxley.
Oh, 100%,
Legit,
man. I'm not a
legit.
big fan of the BCC thing either. I'm not really liking that whole thing. Also, the way they're kind of splitting up all the alliances makes it seem a little bit like we might get like a gang warfare type thing.
Yeah, except that they're not all fighting each other. They're all fighting the one gang.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
Except
why
for the
don't you
elite.
just? Well, I saw somebody uh repost something on Twitter, and it's like it described the BCC as the mob
Mm-hmm.
and the elite as the crooked politicians. And like, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, I get
okay,
it.
yeah.
So
That
like
does
that's why
actually
the
make
elite's
sense.
not gonna. They're not no, because they're still secure. Like until their position is made insecure, they're not going to get involved in this. And I think it will come down to that eventually. And then Mox will say like, "Well, you guys are so stupid. Why didn't you see this coming? What? Because I said, oh, Jack Perry's a good kid. Get out of here." So that's where I think that's going.
All right, it's time for our Morton spot, which is our next review for the week. This week, that's going to be SmackDown. All right, so SmackDown opened with a 5 minute video package of New Bloodline, or 5 minutes of video packages, just kind of like 5 minutes worth of like recaps and stuff like that from the last couple of weeks. Then the New Bloodline came out to kick off the live show. Sokoa said Reigns and Jimmy Uso would acknowledge him by the end of the night, and that the only way for Roman to stop any of this was to acknowledge him. Jay Uso's music hit and he came through the crowd. He comes into the ring with the bloodline, which is wild. And he said he cares about Solo because they're still brothers. He kept calling him little brother and stuff like that, and you could see that that was obviously bothering Solo that he was calling him little
Yeah.
brother and stuff like that. He told Solo to think about what he's doing to the family. Um, Jacob Fatu was standing off Solo's shoulder and just kind of staring down Jay really hard. And Jay just stopped in the middle of his promo. Was like, if you keep looking at me like that, I'm going to whoop your ass. And Solo just stuck his arm out in between them to keep Fatu from doing anything. But I would love to see Jay Uso versus Jacob Fatu, especially with Jay like just bowing up to him like that. But they talked about like what you're doing to the family and how this can be fixed. And Solo kind of reiterated like the only way for this to be fixed is if Roman acknowledges me as the tribal chief, or he said acknowledges him, and he kind of left it there.
Yeah.
But we know what that means. Um, it was like probably the first 20 minutes of the show. And then after that, they had like a little like cut to the back, and there's these two butler guys hauling around this big case and they're holding it flat, and that's where the crown jewel championship is at.
Uh,
And they show it again and it's still
needs two
ridiculous.
cases.
No, it's two guys holding the case. It's like super
Oh,
long,
oh,
but they've got it like splayed out like the whole like
flattened out.
yeah, it's all flattened out, belt end to belt end inside that case. And I mean, it's got all the diamonds and stuff they say it's got, but it's still absurdly ugly.
It
Um,
is.
it is. It really. I like to be positive, but I can't say anything positive about that. It's ugly. It's gaudy. It looks like something like a Zsa Zsa Gabor would wear or something like that. Like one
She'd
of those
probably wear it
old
well.
starlets. Oh, I bet she would. But that's what like Tony Storm would fit well in that title. But that it's just the gimmick that would make that fit.
Yeah.
Um. So after that, we had a match with we had a three-way tag match with Pretty Deadly, DIY, and the Street Profits. I'm really starting to like Pretty Deadly.
I've
I,
heard good things.
they're entertaining, man. They really are. They're like I don't know if they're supposed to be gay or not. Um I don't know if that's been a focal
I think
point
they're
of the
supposed to be
story.
kind of effete, but
They
I'm
are
not sure.
definitely effeminate. Yeah, like they
Yeah,
wear like the long sleeves with the neck, like those shirts with the long sleeves on the neck, but that's all it
yeah,
is the long
yeah.
sleeves and the neck, and it like just goes right above their pecs and stuff like they wear
You mean
effeminate clothing.
like
They're
the Shawn Michaels of
yeah, kind of yeah,
'96?
like the Shawn
Yeah,
Michaels upper rig, but they just wear that
yeah,
all the time.
yeah.
Even when they're in backstage segments, they're wearing like ridiculous, like they're very MXM-ish, except without all the sexual innuendo and a lot
And
more
they're
fun.
English.
And they're
Yeah,
English, yeah. And
yeah.
they have a musical thing. They keep talking about how they're working on this musical, and they've sang a cut like a song from it. It's really funny and entertaining. I really am starting to grow on these guys. Where at first I was just kind of annoyed by them because they were just kind of tacked on to Tiffany Stratton and Naya. And
uh,
I think they took the few segments of that they got being saddled with those guys and did something with it. Like
yeah.
they're obviously gonna be around a while. I think even if they're just an
As
enhancement tag team, they're gonna be around a while.
Jr. said, would say rather, they maximize their minutes.
Mm-hmm. They do.
Yeah.
They maximize their minutes. They're entertaining when they're on TV. I'm entertained. I'm not a big fan of the Street Profits, but I do like DIY a lot. Um, I fell in love with them when Gargano and Ciampa were having
Yeah.
their NXT battles
Oh, so good.
against. They're so good. Yeah. So these guys being a tag team, I like them against each other better, but I like them as a tag team. So Pretty Deadly and them together in a tag. I paid a lot of attention to this match. It was pretty good. Um, they did this thing where one member of each team was always legal
Okay.
instead of
Okay.
like two guys being
So it was more
legal.
of a triangle deal.
Yeah, it was it was like a triangle
Okay.
match instead of a typical three
Traditional
way.
trip.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
and I kind of like that change from
I remember they
normal.
used to do stuff like that in WCW in the '90s, like the
Mm-hmm.
early '90s. Never
Yeah,
really brought it back once Nitro became a thing, but I always
right.
liked the concept.
Right, right. So it was really chaotic, but all three of the teams like really kind of made sure the action was going really well and it was followable. They did this kind of weird mess at the end where we couldn't figure out which member of Pretty Deadly was legal.
Okay.
So at the end, Montez Ford and Johnny Gargano are each pinning a different member of DIY or of Pretty Deadly, and the one that Johnny Gargano is pinning is the legal one. So
Okay.
there's like this schmoz at the end, but when they showed the replay, it's very clear that like Champa knew exactly who was legal, and that's who he
Yeah.
made sure Gargano was on top of. So,
Smart.
but like the Street Profits are trying to celebrate like they won, and like Champa's pushing them out of the way because they're in the way of the hard cam, and they're exchanging words and stuff like that, and it Champa Champa should be more feared in this. Like he just of all those guys, of all six of those dudes, he's the one who looks like he'll kill you easily. And I think he should like be treated as
Yeah.
such.
It's
But
true. That's the problem when you got the NXT guys coming up on the main roster, though, is that those NXT guys are on the whole smaller
mm-hmm,
on
they are.
average, and he's jacked. He looks amazing, but Tommaso Ciampa is only about 5'11" at best.
Yeah.
He's always gonna when you hit the land of the giants, you're always gonna run into that wall of perception, whether it's fair or not. You know, whether it's deserved or not, you always are going to have to fight uphill against that perception. I mean, I haven't seen, like I said, I haven't seen much of main roster or any WWE really in a few years now. But yeah, that was one of those things. Like it works super well in NXT.
Mm-hmm,
Like he's so talented. But when you go to that main roster and you're facing guys like put across the ring with guys like Braun Strowman, or I mean, even against the Street Profits, those guys are not small dudes.
mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, Dawkins is a big beefy boy, like,
Yeah, yeah, he is pretty big.
and he's only gotten more cut as the years have gone by too. Like he used
Mm-hmm,
to be a little. How do I put this delicately? I don't want to body shame, but he wasn't
Fluffier.
as oh no 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 no. I won't say that because that has Gabriel Iglesias implications.
But it's
And
not mean.
no, it's not. But it's also when people think of Gabriel Iglesias, that's a big boy. And he calls
Yeah.
himself fluffy.
Yeah. Okay.
Like
Fair.
so, he. By the way, interesting side note: have run into Gabriel Iglesias several times at wrestling events because he's a huge wrestling fan. In Atlanta, he was actually 2 rows down from our row in at the Hall of Fame, and he had a giant serape on. It was in a huge sombrero. It was fantastic. And then 2 years later in New Jersey, one of my friends who we were all going with took a chance and tried to introduce himself, but it was at a steakhouse and he was with his family and it didn't really work out that well.
Oh no.
Sorry,
Oh no.
Al. uh, I mean, you shot your shot, man. Love you. Uh, but yeah, yeah. So like I wouldn't say fluffy, but he was definitely not as lean as he
Okay.
is now. He's
Yeah.
still big. He's still a big dude, but he's much more jacked now than he used to be when he was, let's say, slightly softer.
There we go. That'll work.
I hope that's not offensive.
I hope not.
I don't mean for it to
Yeah,
be.
we
I
definitely
mean
don't mean this in a mean
only
way.
being I only mean to be descriptive. That's
Mhm.
all.
The way I put it about Walter, aka Gunther,
Mhm.
his body work is obvious,
Yeah. I kind of
and
miss I kind of miss Fat Walter though.
I kind
I
of do too. I kind of do, but
kind of miss him.
I this Walter is scarier. This Gunther is scarier though, and I
Is
like
he?
scarier. Yeah, he's way scarier, dude. He's way
See,
scarier.
like I see
He
him.
still hits just as hard.
Yeah,
He's
like I
just
see him, and
scarier
he
looking.
looks so lean, and is like just
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like I would be more intimidated by the huge dude who was close to 300 pounds. But again,
It.
I haven't watched, so I haven't seen his body of work for the last 3-ish years.
Mhm.
So I mean, I've seen plenty of it beforehand, and he was amazing. So I
Yeah.
can't imagine he's gotten worse.
Oh no, he's
But
fantastic still.
yeah.
So yeah, so after the three-way match, they kind of clear the scrum out. Then we see Reigns and Jimmy arriving to the arena backstage. They run into Jay and Roman, like he tries to walk away and Roman grabs him and he says, "We're proud of you. The whole family's proud of you." And then Jay just kind of looks at him and is like, "No yeet," and walks away. So Jay is really staying on the F y'all thing, which is going to make him popping up for the save eventually a big pop. But for now, they're sticking with the Jay don't want nothing to do with them. Um, as we come out of that little segment, we got Piper Niven coming in with Chelsea Green. She's going to take on Lash Legend in a one-on-one. Lash Legend has Jakara Jackson at ringside with her, so um, when this match started, I thought they lost the tag match last week, but they had something going on Raw. But this is Piper, and she's probably going to beat her. And then Lash Legend powered Niven up from the ground, which was crazy enough in itself, but then reversed Samoan dropped her. And I just went, what? And
Oh.
it was only like a 4-minute match, man. Like it was quick even. So like they obviously see the same it that I see and are doing something with these ladies. Um Niven did a senton during the match. It was fucking awesome. Uh but Lash Legend, it was a good match. Like she really performed well and picking Piper Niven up like that, like dead weight to reverse Samoan drop is I can't say enough how thoroughly athletically peak that is. Like that
Yeah.
is awesome. So yeah, whatever that it is they have, they continue to prove that they still have it, and are going to build on it. So we'll see where this all goes. I know it's going to a women's tag match, and I'm totally cool with that. I want to see
Mm,
these two teams fight. Again, after a proper build for the under team.
right.
Because these guys just came from NXT. They lost a really quick women's tag match to these guys 2 weeks ago or a week ago. And now it looks like they're cycling them up to a second match, which cool. I'm good with that. Build more tag teams in the women's
Yeah.
division. I mean, I know all wrestling companies have so many titles and so many people on their roster that's hard to build a good division and keep a good division going. But one of the most sorely lacking divisions in all of wrestling is the WWE Women's Tag Team division. So, yes, please, more women's tag teams. Please keep building
And
them
it has
properly.
been since its inception.
It
There
has
has
been.
never been a good time, from what I understand, from when they established it to when I stopped watching to now. Apparently, there's never really been a great time for that division at all.
Mm-hmm. So after that, Cody Rhodes came out with the Crown Jewel Championships out there in the ring. He, you know, talked about it. After that, we had a video segment from Kevin Owens that looks like he filmed it sitting at his desk at home with his phone just sitting in front of it. Talking about how he's disappointed and why would Randy Orton put his hands on him like that? I would never do that to you. He's like everybody knows I end up turning on my friends and I don't like people, but I'd never do that to you, Randy. So how could you choose Cody over me? And I'm suspended and it's not fair. And because I guess because he beat up Cody Rhodes outside the building last week afterwards, that he's now suspended. So I don't know, but it looks like we're going to get like a despondent, depressed, and spurned Kevin Owens character, which Kevin Steen's always best when he's being a vindictive asshole. So give me more of that.
Yeah.
Um, so we had all that, and then throughout this show, they had been making a big deal on commentary about how the Motor City Machine Guns were going to debut tonight. And boy, did they. Like, I mean, they had a big entrance, pyro, the whole nine. Like, they are obviously trying to make sure everybody knows that these guys are serious business. There was stuff all over YouTube and social media with them signing their contract before SmackDown went on the air, and
Yeah.
how they're going right to work. And so it was Motor City Machine Guns versus Los Garces versus A Town Down Under. Um, I kind of wish they would have gave them a a better team to fight at the beginning of this, like for their first match. Like maybe we could have slotted these two teams and made it a four-way for that tag trio thing that happened earlier. Maybe DIY comes
I
and does
like
this
the.
match.
I remember liking the Garzas,
The Garzas are
both of them.
good. I
I
like
like
Angel
Angel.
Umberto.
Honestly, I think Angel's better than Umberto.
He is, I
Honestly,
believe. I believe so.
like I saw his work in NXT. I'm like, dude, this is the freaking guy, man.
Mm-hmm.
I know they tried pushing Umberto really hard out the gate. And I'm like, I mean, there's just something missing, and I think it's personality.
Right. Um, Now, despite the way I feel about these two teams being in this debut, everybody looked good. Like it wasn't just Motor City Machine Guns are here and they're going to whoop some ass. So let's send them two lower tier tag teams and have them beat the shit out of them. No, the Garzas look good. Fucking the Machine Guns look good. Everybody, A Town Down Under got their shit in a little bit. Like, everybody does. Of course, they're the heels in the match, so everybody's gonna, you know,
Yeah,
it's okay. Everybody's going to beat up on A Town Down Under, and that's okay. They did this tag match the same way that they did the previous one with the somebody from each team is always legal. So I don't know if that's the way they're going to do triple threat tag team matches for the foreseeable future. I do like this change though. I think it's cool. Saban and Shelley, of course, scored the win. And next week, I get my wish because they take on DIY for a title shot. So Motor City Machine Guns come in. They're here. We're already going to get them versus DIY, which is the match everybody wants.
good for
And
them
and
too. Like
immediately to a
those,
tag title.
yeah.
So
The machine guns are they've worked so hard for so long and have been so kind of quietly influential in tag team wrestling since 2006 when they first started tagging. They and I've been a big Alex Shelley fan specifically for a while. I mean, when I was e-fetting when I stole the vapor trail from him. That's how I was introduced to the shell shock.
Mm-hmm.
Was the first time I'd seen anybody do a swinging reverse STO, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna steal that. Like, so that's how the vapor trail came about. Like, so I'm a big fan of Alex Shelley. I'm a huge fan of the Machine Guns as a unit. Good on them. Glad get that money, guys. I don't care where you get it
Mm-hmm.
from. Just get it because it's about time that they got the big money because
Yeah.
those dudes are in their 40s. Like they don't have much time left in their careers. If they're gonna get
Mm-hmm.
that bag, they better get it now. So I'm glad that they did.
Well, so two things I noticed that one good, one bad. One good thing I noticed about this debut was that unlike previous iterations of people in WWE who might have come in even with their same name from the Indies or another company, the announcers super went into their history and made sure if you didn't know who they were, now you know who they are. Which
Good.
is very non-typical of WWE, at least in the
Yeah.
past, and was super awesome. They should always do that. Um, One negative thing I noticed about the debut though was that they definitely got Def Rebel to do their theme, and it definitely Def Rebelled. So yeah.
I heard
Um,
something about how he was let go or something, or they weren't going to renew his contract or
I
something.
think there's like a movement because of this Motor City Machine Guns thing. There is now like a Twitter thing hashtag going on about Fire Def Rebel. So I don't know if it's like I don't know if that's the exact hashtag, but I have seen probably more than a handful of posts in my for you about how look what they've done to the Motor City Machine Guns theme. Get rid of this band. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, but either way, super good match. All three teams actually looked really good, but of course the Motor City Machine Guns pulled out the win, and they looked fantastic doing it. They always look good in tag matches. So after that, we had Nia Jax and Candice LeRae versus Naomi and Bailey for the main event. Now, I don't know why I forgot to put this in my notes, but earlier in the night, Nia is she's talking to Tiffany on the phone, and Tiffany is saying, I'm sick and I've got the sniffles and I'm not coming to work and all this stuff. So they make her, Nick Aldis makes her get a tag team partner. And while he's telling her that, Candice LeRae shows up. It's like, well, you're the champ and I'm the women's speed champ. So
Oh, they
we
actually
can,
mentioned it.
yeah, they did talk about speed. They're like, I'm the first women's speed champ. So we should team up together. And so that's the tag team. It's Candice LeRae and Nia versus Bailey and Naomi. Um, Jax immediately crushed Bailey in the corner and almost won. Like it was almost a minute long match. But then LeRae came in and the baby faces started getting heat on her. Indy Hartwell, who's I guess Candace's friend. I don't really know much about her.
They were in NXT together as part of the Way, so they
Okay,
have
okay.
history.
So she got involved to give Candace and Nia an unfair advantage. She shoved Bailey into the ring post. After she shoved Bailey in the ring post, LeRae rolled up Bailey and got the pin. I
Ooh,
was shocked, and Nia Jax looked shocked too.
ooh, pushing Candace.
Yeah, I dude. Okay,
Yeah,
like, do you remember
baby,
last
did it.
week? Last week or week before when I was like, if you surprise me, I'm gonna
Yeah,
pop.
yeah,
This was one right
yeah.
here. Candice LeRae getting the pin, I popped. I was like, no fucking way,
That looked like. I
fucking
mean,
way.
the
Like
way that you described it, it was like, oh, they're setting her up to take the pin.
that's what I
It was
thought
like,
too.
yeah, it was like, oh, they're only putting her in this match so that Nia doesn't have to lose.
Exactly. That's exactly what I thought. And then they hand her the pin over Bailey. Like I
Wow,
wow. Like
that's a
um
statement.
yeah, I didn't even know what to say about it. We'll talk about that here just a little in just a second because that was our main event of the night. Um, So
Two women's main events this week for
yeah,
WWE.
yeah,
Hey.
wild,
Two
right?
women's tag team main events, actually.
Yes, two women's tag team main events and crazy stuff, man. Like I'm both of like one of them I really kind of wish okay like I really kind of wish Tiffany would have got to cash in on Liv because I would love to see Tiffany and like how that Tiffany Nia dynamic changes after that,
Yeah,
especially with them having to interact and now knowing they're going to face each other at Crown Jewel or whatever.
right.
I mean, I won't talk about the event itself because I'm probably not going to watch it, but the fallout of said event and the build up to said event. I mean, if we don't talk about it, we're going to miss half the show right now. So,
Right. Yeah. I
a
mean,
little bit
that's
of it has
mm,
to be talked about, but I would love to see
right.
how this dynamic would play out that in that way. But they didn't do it. But still, like handing Candice LeRae the win was wild. Okay, so two
It's
women's
great.
two women's main events this week for that. Two things I liked about SmackDown. One absolutely was Candice LeRae getting that pin in the main event. Her and
Yeah.
Johnny Gargano both won tonight. Go celebrate, guys. You fucking deserve it.
Yeah.
So they both got the pin. Wild.
There you go.
So good night for the
The
Mr. and
Gargano
Mrs.
household.
Wrestling household. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So did they have like cousin Shibata come over for Thanksgiving? It's just like the whole wrestling household.
Uh,
Um, I really like that. I really like the machine gun showing up, man.
yeah.
Um, I've never been a big TNA watcher. Okay, I'll cop to that right away. I've always felt like TNA was a bit of a cheaper WCW. But I recognize and love a lot of the talent that came out of that place, like Samoa Joe and AJ Styles, and I mean
Yeah. There
Ace
was like,
Borger was AJ Styles for so
yeah,
long. Like I
there
mean,
was a pipeline. It
yeah,
was Ring of Honor, TNA, WWE for
yeah,
so long. So you saw those guys kind of really cut their teeth in Ring of Honor, get TV time
polished,
polished in TNA, and then hit WWE eventually. And
yeah,
that's what's happening here, just way extended.
yeah. Um, so yeah, I'm not a big TNA watcher, but I did and do like the Motor City Machine Guns. Despite not being a fan of Detroit at all. I'm still a fan of the tag team, and I thought it was a good match. Something I didn't like. Now I know earlier I talked a little bit about how I didn't like that Def Rebel up the thing.
Ugh,
Okay,
yeah.
but there was something even more egregious on this show that I did not like. Ready for
What's
this
that?
one?
What's that?
They made this big deal about Candice LeRae and Nia Jax being a team because she's the champ and she's the champ, right?
Yeah.
Candice LeRae did not carry her WWE Speed Championship to the ring with her. She did not wear it on the
What's
show at all.
what's the point of mentioning that there's a champion and then not having them come out with the belt?
I don't know. I don't know why they can't carry the Speed Champion because it happened when Andrade was Speed Champion too. Like he wasn't carrying it on the other shows.
Yeah,
And
like
I don't know who the Speed Champion, the men's Speed Champion is now, but I can tell you that I don't know that because I don't watch Speed. And if they are on Raw and SmackDown, they're not showing up with their belt, which they totally should be.
it
Um,
should be, except that even they know that speed doesn't matter.
mhm.
Like,
I'm sorry, but
they're
I
telling
don't
you that it doesn't matter by not featuring the belt.
exactly. That's exactly what I thought. I was like, you are downplaying, like you made it a thing. Like the whole reason Candice LeRae wants to be Nia Jax's partner is because they're both champions
Yeah,
on different shows.
yeah,
And now you have them come out to the ring together, and Nia's got her belt, and Candice doesn't have her belt. And it's like, but y'all just said she was a champion.
yeah,
I mean, I remember like it's definitely not a because it's a different show thing because Liv shows up on SmackDown with her title and Gunther shows
yeah,
up on Raw with his title or Cody shows up on Raw with his title. You know, I
yeah,
mean it's not that, it's speed. And this is a very clear message from WWE whether they meant to send it or not that
yeah,
they do not take that title and that show seriously.
yeah.
And that's a damn shame, especially if you're going to hand the person who's carrying that title a fucking win to try to legitimize. If she was carrying that title, you would actually add some legitimacy to the title, but she didn't bring it out with her at all. So nobody's going to even correlate the speed title to that win she just got in the main event of SmackDown.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that. I didn't like it at all. I that was even more egregious than ruining the Machine Guns theme with Def Rebel. Um, which
Yeah, because you can always change
you can always
a
change the
theme
theme.
down the line. You
Mm-hmm.
can't retroactively go back and change a match result or something that
Yeah.
happened during the course of a match,
You watch like on
especially
the
on a live show.
you watch like on the network, there'll be like a really bad Photoshop of the belt on her as she's walking into the ring, you know. But
Oh, you
yeah,
mean like Andrade's speed title belt render?
oh god, that was terrible, wasn't it?
Ugh,
But
jeez.
anyway, so yeah, I didn't like that at all. I thought that was very egregious, and I thought just like you that it was a message from WWE, whether they meant to send it or not, that speed is not as important. Um, to wrap it up with something I did like, man, I'll tell you, um, like I said before, Kevin Owens, Kevin Steen, he does his best work when he is maybe slightly unjustified, but vindictive and ass
Yeah,
hurt
yeah,
and betrayed and all of those things that he is right now or that he is portraying to be. He does his best work when this is the guy he is. I am so looking forward to where this goes. It looks like we're going to get Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton at Crown Jewel. Um, but I don't think it's going to end there. Kevin Owens is a long game guy. I'm positive he's probably had some
yeah,
input on this. Just the way that his little promo was filmed seemed very very Kevin, not very WWE.
yeah.
So
They're experimenting with new stuff like that. That
mhm.
both promotions are really.
They
So
are
I
they
mean,
are.
I feel like that's only good for the landscape.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I really like that. I think Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens. It's really hard to call him Kevin Owens, even though I mean, I can easily call him Kevin
Yeah,
Owens, but it's just once you saw somebody in ROH, like it's that Vince thing, man, that old Vince thing. Like
yeah,
you can't have the same name that he was popular under before, but we all
nope,
know who that is. We
yeah,
all know that's even if you weren't an ROH fan back then, you know now that that's Kevin Steen,
yep.
and like if you go back and watch it, you could like his character now is definitely informed by his character then.
Oh
So
yeah,
he's basically the
absolutely.
same dude.
Yeah, yeah,
So the only person that I've seen come out of ROH and have a drastic change besides a name is Generico.
yeah.
And he's been
No,
missing
no,
for
no, no,
years.
no. Remember, he's running an orphanage in Mexico. Like those are
Uh,
two different guys.
hmm.
The two different guys. People make that mistake all the time, but I mean, Sami Zayn and El Generico are two different people.
Well, El Generico, please come back. I do love Sami Zayn. Maybe they should tag together.
They should tag together,
That'd be
prove once
hilarious.
and for all. Just because you've never seen Sami Zayn and El Generico in the same place doesn't mean they're the same person.
Dear sweet 6 pound, 8 ounce baby Jesus, if there was ever a time for somebody to have an identical twin that I didn't know existed, now would be a great time for Sami Zayn to have an identical twin I didn't know existed.
Yep, it would
So
be
yeah,
great.
that was SmackDown. The belt thing was kind of egregious. Other than that, the wrestling on the show was fantastic. The new format of the 3 ways that they're doing that is actually kind of an old format, but the way they're doing it now, I
Yeah,
like it. I never liked one team sitting idle or just being
it
shit canned out on
seems.
the floor. They got
Yeah,
rid of that shit canned out on the floor thing.
yeah,
Like that completely eliminated that with somebody from each team being completely legal all the time.
yeah.
I I
The
can't say
only
enough how much I
thing,
like that.
the only thing that now eliminates is the option for the heels to just kind of sit back and just rest on the apron and let the two babyface teams or the other heel and the other babyface team kick the crap out of each other and then pick their spot if they
Yeah.
can get a blind tag somehow. But ultimately, that's a small facet that can be easily left to the side.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it would probably be a lot more exciting to see three people in the ring and three people on the outside, and that eliminates too um the weirdness about anybody can tag in any other partner, from any other team. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know that often led to, you know, storyline telling shenanigans that, but this opens up new possibilities, and it clarifies that, yes, these teams are united fronts. They can only tag each other in and out. You're not going to have this nonsense where, like, I mean, they never they never really took the opportunity. Like, the only thing that they don't usually do in normal triple threat tag matches, I think I've only seen them address one time, and it was in the last couple years. And triple threat matches have been around for decades now.
Hmm.
How come heel teams don't more often make it so that both the members of the team are in the ring at the same time via tagging shenanigans, so one of them can pin the other and they automatically win? Like, how is that not a thing? Like, right?
Hello, gaping plot hole.
Right?
Uh,
Seriously. I mean,
uh,
you could. The other side of that is that the other, one of the members of the team is also getting pinned.
mhm.
But at the very least, then they don't lose. Like, because then it would be like, okay, well, they didn't win, but they didn't lose, so it's a wash. Everybody gets a little piece of the purse, I guess.
I guess. Yeah.
The
I don't
very
know.
communist way of doing
I'd
it.
like to see them explore that somehow,
Yeah.
and see how that
But
worked out.
this way, if you can only tag your partner in because everybody has a representative in the ring at all times anyway,
Hmm.
that eliminates that gaping plot hole,
Yeah.
you know. So,
Maybe it's just WWE shoring it up. Like maybe somebody from Endeavor was like, you know what, don't make sense, guys.
yeah.
And then they made this adjustment. I just like to see how they explore this going into the future because I like that it eliminated some things. I'd like to see how they're going to overcome like how the heels can sit back and win the match,
Mm-hmm.
easily. Like I'd like to see how they're going to still work it out because heels are still going to win these matches,
Oh yeah,
in some
eventually.
cases. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'd like to see how they come across that. But yeah, man, I mean, thumbs up for SmackDown this week. Um, I normally don't like their format, but they didn't do a whole lot of that commercial back to a promo while there's
Segment,
people
yeah.
wait. Yeah, like they didn't do that thing that Raw is now doing. So yeah, big thumbs up for SmackDown this week. It was super entertaining. I like triple threat tag team matches, and there was two of them, so I'm not
Yeah.
mad at that at all. And
Yeah.
I like women's main events too, and there was one of those or two of those this week, but one on this show as well. So
Yeah.
I'm not hating at all. WWE, where normally I take everything they do with a bit of a grain of salt because I've been hurt before.
Yeah.
They're killing it lately. I can't like call me fed pilled. I love it. It's working. Call me I'm taking the red pill and the blue pill right now. So and they both taste good. So
Purple pills.
yeah. So yeah, yeah, that's SmackDown for this week. It was good, man.
Cool.
And that's the morning spot. So it's time for a hot tag.
All right. So we're at the hope spot. So Collision is your hope spot this week. Segment number one, another Moxley promo to begin the show. He kind of goes further with it, kind of explains more. He explains why the world title belt has been put in a bag and not been shown. Is like it's not for anyone. It's for the company. It's for the seat, and he sits in the seat. It is only meant for him. Really egotistical there, John. Belt reminds him of everything he hates because it's big and gaudy and blah blah blah. And this isn't an elevator. You're not uh, riding an elevator up to the top when you face us. Each one of us is a mountain. And top flight, when we face you tonight, it's not going to be your shot at climbing a mountain. It's going to be public execution. Like, man, like, Renee, would you please, just like relieve your boy's tension? Like, for
Okay.
real. This is, he's so uptight. Like, he needs you. We all need for you to need him. Please get your boy, relieve some of his tension, please. Uh, he's so uptight. Match number one, AR Fox answers Ricochet's earlier open challenge, and it is a banger. Go and watch it. There's stuff in here that, I mean, as usual with Ricochet and AR Fox, doesn't get enough love for being he's another one of those underground guys who is so influential and you don't realize it because he only recently got signed to one of the major companies. But he's so innovative. Stuff he does is so cool. Nobody really does the same kind of stuff that AR Fox and Ricochet do. And so you put them together in a match. They mentioned that they haven't met since 2014, but their record up until that point was even. That each one of them had 4 wins on each other.
Oh wow,
which was kind of cool. Ricochet does win with the vertigo. There is one spot that I need to go over. Most of the other stuff I couldn't jot down fast enough, but there was this ludicrous sequence that ended with uh, Ricochet moonsaulting over AR Fox's bent over body to catch him in a deadlift German suplex. That was insane. Never seen anything like that. You need to go see this match. If you're a fan of 2 wrestlers you know really well, if you love your flippy spots, if you love your good technical wrestlers, if you love the new Ricochet being real gritty and just punching people in the mouth, man, this is for you. This is for you. Ricochet wins with a really, really like adding a little bit of a spin to the vertigo when he applies it. Really great match. Probably went about 12, 15 minutes maybe. Afterwards, Ricochet gets on the mic in what will become a running theme for the night and says he wants another shot at the international title, just basically reinforcing what he said on Dynamite earlier. Segment number 2, Daniel Garcia and Private Party are backstage. They say that they're going to relieve the Elite of their title responsibilities. Each of them gets a chance to talk. Zay says AEW changed everything for he and Quen. He's willing to die for it rather than see it get overrun by the BCC. Quen says that they have business here in Stockton, so which gets a big pop, the hometown pop.
Cheap up.
Match number 2 was Chris Statlander versus Harley Cameron. Harley didn't have Saraya as backup. I don't know if they just, I don't know where she was. Don't know. Harley's, she's still a little green, but she was trying to do some cool Tekker stuff. She's, my gosh, she is putting in the work, and I love it. Love Harley Cameron.
She's on a very similar trajectory as like Julia Hart was last year.
Mm-hmm.
Where she started out super green and she's steadily improved her in-ring work as she's gotten the reps.
Yeah, with Julia Hart, it was all those matches on Dark and Elevation.
Mm-hmm.
With Harley Cameron, it's Ring of Honor taking that spot. But yeah, like she's really improving at a pretty quick rate.
Mm-hmm. I'm appreciative of it, and she's kind of over too.
Yeah, I mean, well, she's hilarious.
Yeah, that is true.
She's a hot Australian who's absolutely hysterically funny. Like, how is that not going to get over? And actually, Chris is really giving. She's making Harley look really good. Harley was in control of the match for a lot longer than somebody in her position would be expected. But Chris was really giving in that respect. But she still wins with the Saturday Night Fever.
Love it.
And then she gets on the mic and says afterwards that she's always willing to test herself. And she's always prided herself on that. So that's when she calls out Camille to the match that I was hoping that we were going to get for Wrestle Dream, but didn't. Nice. They eventually make that match official for, I don't think it's this week. I think it's the following, this coming up week. I think it's the following week.
During our break, and I tagged your Pod Foundation podcast.
I did see that.
Did you see that? Queen Aminata, who we just said needs to be on TV more, against Camille, who we just said should face Queen Aminata. So, so we've got Queen Aminata. That's what's taking in place in between.
Who's booking here?
Apparently us.
What my friends, before the pandemic started in earnest, I would have my friends over and watch Dynamite every Wednesday, and it was uncanny how often I called something that was going to happen, to the point where they would say, "Oh yeah, well, I mean, we know you're booking the show." It's not always. I'm not gonna like say that I can predict everything because I clearly can't. But when you've been a wrestling fan your entire life, and your entire life is now nearly 40 years in span, yeah, you pick up on some stuff, which is why, going back to what you said about surprises, why those affect us so much, because
Mm-hmm.
we've seen nearly everything. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to show me
uh,
something I haven't seen before.
yeah. Match number 3 after the commercial break was Private Party and Daniel Garcia versus the Premier Athletes. Mark Sterling does his thing where he does their intro. He sucks up to the EVPs. The athletes rules stuff still gets athletes sucked from the crowd. Halfway through the match, Stokely Hathaway comes out, stands a little bit forward from the stage and distracts on the ramp as Zay eats it as a result. But eventually, Garcia gets the hot tag, but he gets cut off. But then everybody gets their stuff in, and Gin and Juice wins it for him. I was glad to see Private Party get it and not Danny Garcia,
Mm-hmm.
because Danny needs the focus less in this situation. Private Party needs to be more established as they hunt for the tag belts and get their second shot at it.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-taped LFI promo follows that. Jake Roberts on the voiceover says you can't outrun the bull, and that rules and bones were made to be broken. Jake always had that way with words.
Oh yeah.
Match number 4, there was as opposed to Dynamite, which was really promo and segment centric. This was very wrestling heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So you got the two different flavors going on. Orange Cassidy versus Bulk Bronson was just a quick little thing. Jack Jameson was on the mic. He was talking up the Iron Savages. Runs down the conglomeration. He wants the Savages to get more TV time because said they're going to take everybody to Titty City, which always pops me. Um, but as the bell rings, Jameson is still on the apron with the microphone, running down Orange Cassidy. Gets an orange punch for his trouble, and then an orange punch and a beach break for Bulk Bronson. After that, wins it in a really. It was more of. I wouldn't even call it a squash. It was faster than a squash.
Yeah. I watched this one on Twitter. Like
Yeah,
I
the
got
whole
up
thing probably.
I
Yeah,
got up this
yeah,
morning. Okay, like I got up this morning and I literally got that whole match in on Twitter on my way to the bathroom from my bedroom.
yeah.
And I
It
was
was
that's
quick.
the first thing I saw of Collision this week because I had to watch it today. But
Yeah,
yeah, like I literally like pulled up Twitter. I was like, oh hey, it says Orange Cassidy wins with an orange punch, and I clicked it and literally walked to the bathroom. And before I even got in there, it was over. I was like, oh, I'll be damned.
yeah. I mean, it was quick. It was fun. It was funny. Like, I'm not gonna. And it got. I mean, it was kind of a cheap way to get another win on OC, because I think he's now the most winning male wrestler in the company now overall
Okay.
in his entire career.
Okay.
He's got the most wins now. I think it's like I'd have to ask uh, our friend of the show at AEW_rankings
Yeah.
about what his total is, because I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's well in excess of 100 wins
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
overall. Um, Match number 5 after the commercial break was Jamie Hayter versus local Brooke Havoc. It was just an extended squash too, but Haterade takes it. Penelope Ford gets up on the screen, after uh, uh, getting involved last week in their match. She says she's that she feels slighted that during her, I couldn't believe it. She'd been gone for 2 years, injured or
Right.
something. Like, what? I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to her. What kind of injury kept her out for that long? Or I don't know if there's a pregnancy thrown in there too. I don't know. But
Yeah, I'm
she
not
says she
sure.
was laid up for 2 years, and that Hater didn't call her once. So she's kind of like really annoyed, because the last time that they were the last match that Penelope Ford had before going down to injury, I guess, was in a tag match with Jamie Hayter.
Oh.
So uh, you
Oh.
know, Yeah. So I was like, huh.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Jamie Hayter is over. Like,
Yeah, they got to
like,
do something about that
yeah. I
quick.
mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad to see women's feuds happening that don't revolve around the championship. But and I know where they're going because they got to keep Hayter on ice until Mariah May and Tony Storm have their second match, no
Hmm.
matter how that turns out. But Hayter needs to be the next one
Hmm.
because if she doesn't get a shot, oof, she's in real danger of cooling off by that point. So like you need to strike when the iron is hot.
Oh yeah, she's hot. I mean, in all fairness, we could go the alternate route and have her beat Mercedes
Honestly,
and beat the streak.
you could
So
you could do that, and I think I would prefer that because it would be taking advantage of her while she's hot.
yeah.
Like you could slot her in there, you could have her beat Chris, that's
Hmm.
fine. Have her beat Chris, and then like immediately lose to Hater, and I think that would maintain uh Hater's momentum without wasting it.
Yeah.
They could capitalize on it without wasting it.
Yeah.
Segment number 4, backstage interview with Private Party, Daniel Garcia, and Orange Cassidy. Garcia comes up to OC and says it's time for him to step up, but Cassidy's like, I'm no leader. I'm just not that guy. So I think, I think with all the, this is being informed by the fact that the best friends broke up in the past year, and he's just kind of slotted into the conglomeration. Like he's not like I've in the past on this show referred to them as the Island of Misfit Toys. They're like his friends, but they're not like his best friends.
Hmm.
One of his best friends turned on him. The other one retired that guy. So or got retired by that guy. So,
Yeah.
it's he's still mourning that even though he's not really showing it. And I think that's the explanation that they're eventually going to reveal. It's like, I'm not that guy. He's so down on himself because he couldn't keep his family together.
Hmm.
And so what chance does he have against BCC, etc.?
Yeah.
So I think that's
Yeah.
where they're going with that. I'm all for it. Next match was Atlantis Junior versus Kyle Fletcher in a
Hmm.
rematch of their CMLL match earlier this year with the ROH TV title on the line. Neither one of them has that belt anymore, so there's no reason to protect anybody. Uh, Fletcher dominates for the majority of it. He does get some cheap shots in before the bell. Um, he did the thing that you didn't like.
Hmm.
Sorry, went for the mask, and the
Ugh.
mask was pretty well ripped open. The camera did a good job of staying on the side that didn't show it for the most part. For
Yeah, I
to their
appreciated
credit,
that about
to
their
their credit,
production.
they
Yeah.
tried to avoid it whenever they could. Obviously, you know, there are people who are moving of their own accord. You're
Yeah.
not going to be able to avoid it altogether,
Hmm.
but they tried their best to hide it.
Yeah, I
Um,
appreciated that a lot, actually.
yeah, I uh, Fletcher wins after a pretty decent match with Brain Buster.
Uh,
I'm glad somebody's using it.
hmm.
Sammy only breaks it out against Gunther. So,
Yeah, right.
and then for the third time on the show afterwards, there's a mic given to the winner of the match in the ring. Callis gets on it, but he gives it right to Fletcher, so I'm counting it. And he says that he'll be ready to, unlike Dynamite, where he's like, too bad, you don't get anything. He says he'll be willing to talk about Osprey and his motivations on Wednesday.
Okay.
Segment number
Fine.
5 after commercial was a recap of Darby versus Brody King at Wrestle Dream. It's just a recap. Match number 7 was House of Black versus Alpha Zoe, Chris Nasty with 2 Ys, and Illumide. So I don't know
I have no idea
any
who
of
any of
those
those people.
people. But honestly, it was another squash match, but they made it really funny because there was some comedy from the local team, and they're like, "I don't want to get in there. Do you want to get in there? I don't want to get in there."
I don't want to get in there. So I
Eventually, the
understand.
House of Black wins after Illumide uh, was seated in the corner and got cannonballed by Brody King as from either side of him, Buddy Matthews and Malachi Black drop kicked him. So it was like a 3-person sandwich there
Oh
kind of
God.
deal. Yeah.
Ooh.
Um, Segment number 6, Lexi interviews Thunder Rosa,
Oh
finally
yeah.
back. Rosa's cleared, but she's interrupted by Harley Cameron, who doesn't realize it. I don't think she realizes that like Thunder Rosa is doing her a segment. So she just sees Lexi and she's just like, oh, she's wonderful. She's just like, I'm gonna get you back. And then she gets punched out by Rosa, but Harley remains hilarious on the floor. She's still saying, I'm still gonna get you. Like, Harley, you're still gonna feel the wrath of Harley Cameron. Protect this woman at all costs. She's so funny. Love her. Match number 8 was the main event. Was it the main event? Almost the main event. The Outrunners versus the Beast Mortos and Roosh. Roosh sells literally nothing until the hot tag, and then he sells like a mofo. But like he sells the hot tag, but like he gets in there, he gets his stuff in, and then immediately tags out to Mortos so that Mortos can sell. It's like, oh, Roosh, I know that you're probably just a jerk in real life, aren't you? Like, look, he strikes me as one of those guys. He lays it in thick, and then he doesn't want to sell it. Like
Nope. No
the
sell.
match, Drolistico was out with them with LFI. He tricks up Magnum to prevent the finish, and later holds Turbo Floyd's leg so that he can't kick out when they get the pin there. So LFI beat the Outrunners and then kick the crap out of them afterwards. But then FTR makes the save. So FTR on both shows this week. Yay!
Yay.
And then they do the Predator handshake again, and it's great.
It's always awesome.
Segment number 7, Sammy Guevara promo. He says that he always wants to leave the fans, with a moment to remember. He's always trying to outdo himself and stuff like that. So he challenges Shelton Benjamin for this coming Dynamite. That match should be worth watching, I would assume.
I saw that match graphic well before I got to see the like the promo, and I was
Yeah.
like, that's
Yeah.
gonna be pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah. It's like, give me that. I want
yeah,
that.
I'll take that one. Yeah.
Commercial. And then finally, the main event is Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and Pac put their trios title on the line against Top Flight and Action Andretti. There was this crazy spot where Dante was in the middle of executing a tope, but his feet, he was caught in midair by Claudio. His feet were on the ropes for balance, so he wasn't all the way out of the ring, but he was still caught by Castagnoli, and then he just shoves him into the post. It looked, like super creative. Loved it. There was some great double teaming from Top Flight. Andretti winds up taking like all of the punishment in the corner. Just he at one point they eliminate the other two. They eliminate Top Flight, and then it's the BCC one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the like 6 times. Each member of the BCC just like nails him in the corner with a splash or an elbow, and then eventually he shambles out of the corner and walks into a tombstone pile driver from Pac for the win. Then afterwards, and this is where the Hope Spot turns into the hot tag, because they did a thing where the end of Collision bled into the beginning of Battle of the Belts, which I gotta say is smart on them. They must have realized that I wasn't going to initially cover Battle of the Belts because nothing ever really happens on Battle of the Belts. But because I carried and covered Collision, I needed to see this segment through. I wound up watching Battle of the Belts anyway. So I might as well cover it with the hot tag. Good on you, AEW. You got me. You got me. So afterwards, the BCC continues to beat down. Mox and Shafir join them as well. Leo Rush and Layla Gray come down. Both are ineffective. The Dark Order comes in and they make the save, or they try to, but also are ultimately ineffective. Mox then gets on the mic and says he'll give Dark Order a chance, even though they've got the crap kicked out of them, to fight for their dreams and fight for the trios title. So he tells the ring announcer to ring the bell and the referee to stay there. Like, you work for me now, is what he said. So yeah, BCC are actually calling shots now, which I felt is very important to the storyline. The BCC versus Dark Order, second straight trios title defense. John Silver's in there all by himself for like 5 minutes, just getting the tar kicked out of him one after the other. But he's kicking out of some stuff too. He's getting some hope. Evil Uno breaks up the pin after the fastball special, though. That's where things start to rotate a little bit. Ultimately, Reynolds is the one to get the hot tag, but he's got his ribs all taped up and stuff. He's selling the injury from earlier, and he's really selling too. Like, oof, yeah. You believe that his ribs were in bad shape. And it played into the finish because he couldn't really complete the hot tag. He got some offense in, but eventually he gets trapped in Claudio's sharpshooter, and he reaches for the ropes and everything, but he can't. He's dragged all the way back out to the ring. The ref gets distracted, and then Pac comes off, and I want to say it was a double stomp. I can't remember the exact move, but the ref didn't see while he was still in the sharpshooter. I think it was double stomped by Pac from the top rope, and
Oh
so he
God.
eventually just he had to tap. But even after the tap and after the bell, Wheeler Yuta applied cattle mutilation to him. Like, they're just really just going to town on
Oh
the poor
God.
guy. Like, it's excessive.
Yeah, that seemed a little excessive to me, Joseph.
And I mean, they eventually leave, but like, oof.
Yeah.
Like, I get where they're going with this. You know, they are a literal gang at this point. They're not a faction anymore. They're an actual like street gang at this
Mm-hmm.
point, beefing over turf. But like, oof, it's tough to watch. Like, I don't know how many weeks of this in a row I'm going to be able to watch and still be invested in it by the time a babyface finally gets one up on them,
Mm-hmm.
because they have to lay it on thick because it's it's about taking over the whole company. Okay, fine. And I'm glad that they were on both shows so that it's not just, oh, you're just going to see this on Dynamite. This is a soft brand split thing. No, it feels like they're trying to take over everything. And
Yeah.
that's good. But like, it's so excessive. Like, it's just they're beating up so many people, and I'll get into that at the end, I guess. Match number 2 was for the Continental title, Kyle O'Reilly versus Kazuchika Okada. Really good match, as you would expect. Um, Lots of BJJ from O'Reilly. He almost gets a submission with a heel hook at one point, but Rainmaker has to gouge him in the eyes to break it up. Okada really selling the leg. Like, those leg kicks that Kyle O'Reilly throws are not fun. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they look like they land and they bury in that thigh
Oh
every
yeah.
time. Uh, but after a while, Okada baits Kyle O'Reilly outside with 10 count shenanigans. He goes to the outside, and the assumption is that there's only a couple minutes left. He's going to keep rolling. He's going to pull the Nick Bockwinkel and keep
Mm-hmm.
going to the outside and wait out the count and then break the count and then roll back out. But Kyle O'Reilly comes in and tries to chase him out. but then Okada hits him, because he expects that, showing, you know, again, heels are smart.
Hmm.
Um, Lots of Rainmaker counters towards the end, but like there were like three times in a row where Okada tries to hit the Rainmaker, but Kyle counters. Like at one point, he counters into a guillotine choke and nearly gets it. But uh, eventually he grabs it. He smacks him with a Rainmaker lariat, and that's over in probably with maybe a minute left on the counter, something
Oh,
like that. Like it went close to the full 20. It didn't quite get there, but it went close. But good stuff.
oh yeah,
I love me some Kyle O'Reilly.
oh yeah, for
Segment
sure.
number 2, promo for Mariah May versus Anna Jay. It's basically video clips of them and stuff like that. It was voiceover from Anna Jay. Says Mariah is shady, is going to give her a receipt.
Okay.
Uh, Segment number 3, backstage LFI promo from, and this one's live. Roosh says that they're going to destroy everyone. Mortos is then panned over, seen choking hologram and like messing up hologram. I was wondering where hologram was going to be. Oh, I guess he was going to be attacked by LFI. That makes sense. Match number 3 was Brian Cage and Lance Archer in their debut as a tag team versus Jack Cartwheel and John Cruz.
All right.
Jack Cartwheel getting a little bit of notice on the indie scene. John Cruz, probably most famous for being walked away from by Samoa Joe and him looking at him like this in midair and getting that caught in still form. Um, but yeah, Cartwheel selling, bumping like
Yeah,
crazy.
he bumps with substance,
Holy
man.
cow! Like it was like Shawn Michaels versus Hulk Hogan, the way that he was selling. He was
Mm,
like, I think he was trying to maximize his minutes and just be like, hey, look what I can offer you. Because he's not signed.
no.
I think he was trying to get signed. I think he saw this as an audition, and I think he definitely stood out. Uh, Cruz, but Cruz got obliterated. Essentially was the story
Yeah.
of the match. Like, Cartwheel bumped, and Cruz was like, at one point he refused to tag in, and then I think it was Archer. No, it was Cage. He took Cartwheel's limp hand and forced him to tag, which I thought was funny. And they just beat Cruz up, and the finish came from an assisted blackout. They had done a power bomb into a choke slam thing, and then afterwards, Archer got him up for the blackout, and he was helped down by Cage, and that
Okay.
got the pin. After that was an interview with the Undisputed Kingdom. They still want to, they still want to hang with Mordos. They're not mad; they're just disappointed. Uh, Match 4 was your main event: Anna Jay versus Mariah May in a women's title eliminator match. I saw a lot of chatter online, raving about this match, but honestly, I don't see it. I thought it was, I didn't think it was bad. I just thought it was basic until the end. Like, uh, I think Anna Jay didn't spend enough time in Japan. I think she could have benefited from being there another 2 or 3 months. Because like you can see she's trying, but like her stuff just doesn't look convincing, you know. And I hate to say that because I genuinely do like her. She seems like an affable person,
Mm.
and she's got personality. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think she's kind of hit a little bit of a wall, at least from what I've seen in terms of her in-ring progression. That said, when she rolled her up to get the pin, I popped. I was like, "Oh, holy cow,
Yeah.
somebody winning an eliminator match as a challenger. That's crazy." So they're gonna run it back with the belt on the line. I think next, I don't think it's next collision. I think it's the one after that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a weird cradle. I don't think I've ever seen it before. But just to go over things I liked, things didn't, could have stand improvement. Um, I liked, uh, I actually enjoyed the squash matches because they were different.
Mm-hmm.
To their credit, if you're gonna have three squash matches on a card, at least add a little bit of humor in there, and they did that for two of them, which I thought was it was welcome. It really
Mm-hmm.
was.
Yeah.
Um, it's good to see Mortos getting a win. I'm always on board with Mortos getting a win. Um, uh, uh, Not a fan of like how do I say this? Um, I don't know. Like, I mean, I mentioned the BCC stuff before, so I'm just gonna try to avoid that. But like, I don't know. I'm trying, really trying. But I'm not seeing it with Anna Jay. I'm just not like it's I'm good for her and good for them trying to push women that haven't been pushed before, trying to get them into different spots. But like I'm not seeing it, and it's like I feel bad because I really feel for her, but I feel like she could have just spent a lot more time in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And she would have benefited from it because I'm just not buying her as a credible challenger for the world women's title. I'm just not. Like,
Yeah.
um, the other thing though, Thunder Rosa's back though. Thunder Rosa's
Yeah.
back.
I love Thunder
Love me
Rosa.
some Thunder Rosa. Glad to see her. You can slot her in anywhere and she'll do the work, and it will work.
Mm-hmm.
So, hopefully, she doesn't. This isn't a prelude to more concussions. You get one concussion, and a lot of times that can open up. I mean, look what happened to Brett.
Yeah.
So, just hoping that that she not only is she cleared, but that she's healthy, and that this isn't a harbinger of bad things to come.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really need Thunder Rosa to get in there and scrap Mercedes at some point.
Oh yeah. I need that
Because
quickly.
if anybody's going to get the match that we know Mercedes can have, it would be Thunder Rosa.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I think Thunder Rosa could have that Sasha match that we are constantly looking for out of
Yeah,
Mercedes Monet.
she needs to make that. She needs to make that statement match. Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
she had a really good match with Willow to win the belt,
Mm-hmm.
and then from there, it's been a lot of middling stuff for the most part.
Except Emmy.
Nothing's
The Emmy match was fantastic.
The Emmy match was good, but it was also sadly against somebody you knew was never going to
Not
have a
gonna
chance to
win.
win that belt.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the problem with it is
I need
that
a match like that
you
against somebody who could win.
exactly you need to. It's not enough that it be good. It needs to be good and convincing that it could go the other way,
Yeah.
because that's where the magic, that's where the sauce is.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sauce right there. It's like you need to make me forget it. You need to make me forget that the Mercedes win is a foregone conclusion.
Oh, that was our collision review for the week, and now it's time to do like vets do and call it in the ring.
Yeah, time to call it in the ring, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so this week, as you know, our calling in the ring segment is different every single week. And this time I outsourced some of my friends, my wrestling fan friends, to compile us a little list. This list is uh, crafted from a bunch of wrestlers and wrestling acts that uh, pretty much had their careers, at least in major promotions in North America, end by the end of the Attitude Era, which, for the sake of this, I was calling Vengeance 2001 when they finally made it an undisputed championship. So all the people on this list had the major part of their careers in major organizations in North America over by that point. Uh, we are going to get a number randomizer here, and we are going to go from 1 to 82. My friends Ben, John, and George came up with 82 names collectively. Um, we're going to put. I've put this list together. Everybody is numbered. We're going to click on generate. It's going to come up with a number, and whoever winds up with the number that's clicked and it's generated, we're going to try to determine this current generation's equivalent to that performer. So, for example, we're gonna do this. We're not gonna do it with a whole list. It'd be too long and it defeats the point of a randomizer. We have not seen this list beforehand. So I mean, looking at it right now for the first time, and there are a lot of names on here, and they're very interesting names. So we're just gonna do, I think 10. I think 10 is
10
pretty
is probably
good.
good. Yeah.
So let's generate.
All
Comes up
right.
with number 51. Aaron, could you write down the numbers that we've already done so that
Okay.
we don't go back on them?
I will do that. Let me get my notepad out.
All right. Number 51 is Bad News Brown / Allen.
Hmm.
So who today would be a modern equivalent of Bad News Brown?
Hmm.
I think instead of you giving an answer and then me giving an answer, I think we should come to a consensus. I think we should have a discussion.
Okay.
And I think that we should put it out there. Uh, I'm thinking, and the criteria for this could range from anything about that performer, from the way that they performed, the way that their storylines went, their backgrounds that they had, anything, their personal lives, anything regarding that. So it could be literally anything. For me, Bad News Brown had a temper, and he had a legitimate, what we would call today, an MMA background.
Hmm.
It wasn't really like he was a supreme judoka. He was a great judoka.
Yeah.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he did have a couple of early MMA fights after his wrestling career was over. If I'm not mistaken, they may have been amateur fights. But because of that, and because he was mean,
Hmm.
uh, I'm going to put forth perhaps Bobby Lashley, who also has an MMA, a lot of MMA experience. He's also a big jack dude who likes to throw people around. He's not
Hmm.
as mean. I'll grant you that. And it is kind of it is kind of hard to take somebody seriously when their name is Bobby, not
Hmm.
Bob, not Robert, Bobby.
Bobby. Yeah.
Um, but that being said, that's one of those things where it is completely negated by the fact that he's this big jack dude who
Hmm.
has legitimate combat experience.
Hmm. Well, I mean, I kind of would go the other way a little bit on this. I'm looking for the big jack dude who is super mean. So our modern day powerhouse Hobbs.
Oh, you know what? You know what? I like it. I like it better. I like it
Mm.
better.
Yeah, I think he
Yeah,
fits a little bit better in this
he
instance,
does.
man.
He doesn't have the martial arts, but man, he has that attitude. He will
Oh
jack you
yeah.
up,
Yeah, yeah. He don't like
jack you up.
nobody.
No,
Yeah.
I'm excited for him to return.
I
He's
am
apparently
too.
been cleared. So
I'm a
I'm really
big
hoping.
stan. Yeah, I really like Will Hobbs. I'm a
Yeah,
stan, for
they
sure.
didn't. He was a victim of the TNT title scene. Like that.
Hmm.
Oh man, that title's a mess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really hoping that they do something with him. Out. Do you think that they're gonna bring him back with the Callis family, or do something different with him?
I would hope he lands with the Hurt Syndicate,
I think they should
but
make another
he would
trade.
make a
They
great
should make
foil.
another trade
Yeah, he would make a great
for
foil
him.
to Lashley for somebody though. Also, so it just depends. But I would like to see him land with the Hurt Syndicate if they're doing what it's clear to me they're doing now, then yeah, it would make sense.
Oh
And
yeah, they're definitely seeking out premier black athletes
yeah, so
for
I mean,
sure.
he is probably easily. I would say you could consider him number one or number two as far as that goes in AEW.
Yeah, I mean
It's
now
like
that he's healthy
Swerve,
again,
yeah, Swerve, Powerhouse. I mean, those
yeah,
are my
because the
two.
guys
Those are
end
my
up.
two favorites anyway.
I
Um,
mean, Keith Lee would be in there, but he's never healthy.
I think
Get
Keith
better
Lee. I
soon,
mean,
big guy.
yeah, please get better soon, Keith Lee, and come back and be a face again. Like you can join Swerve. We can have more Swerve in our glory against the Hurt Syndicate. I'd be
Yeah, if you can
totally
forgive
down
him.
for that. Well, I mean,
Find it in your heart to forgive Swerve for cracking that cinder block over your head.
dude, somebody burned your house down, so you kind of got what you deserved out of this whole situation. So maybe
Yeah,
we just cool now.
yeah, maybe just
Yeah,
evens out.
yeah.
All right, yeah,
All
I
right,
like it. Powerhouse Hobbs, I
Powerhouse
dig it.
Hobbs. All
I
right,
dig it.
cool.
Modern day Bad News Brown / Allen, Powerhouse Hobbs. All right, generate 58.
58.
Ooh, ooh.
I don't like when you make that noise.
Number 58 is Yokozuna.
Oh man, we got
Oh,
a big man thing going
Yokozuna
on
was
today.
so good.
He was.
And I don't think he got his flowers in his time. You
No, he
go
didn't.
back, and there was stuff that he could do that nobody that weighed as much as he did should have been able to
No,
do. The guy
not
was
at
doing
all.
spinning heel kicks. The guy was doing just crazy stuff for his size.
Spinning
He had
heel
a
kicks as a
great
six hundred
belly
pound Samoan.
suplex. Yeah,
Like that speaks.
Samoan Japanese guy.
Yeah, that speaks to the strength of Samoans, man. You walk around at 600 as your walk around weight and still do spinning heel kicks. Boy, you got some legs on you.
And to hear Mark Henry tell it, he was an excellent basketball player.
I can't imagine it,
Like
dude. The same way
crazy.
I can't imagine Prince playing basketball. Like
Yeah.
it's the
But it's
same
on
way, but it's a whole
the
different. Yeah,
other end of the spectrum.
yeah, but yeah,
Um,
it's the same thing basically.
as far as a modern day Yokozuna,
Oh,
gosh. I
who's a big
mean,
man like that can move like that?
the one that comes to mind, he's not nearly as heavy, but we've already mentioned him is Keith Lee. Like that
Yeah.
dude's doing moonsaults and stuff, like from the second rope. He
Hmm.
doesn't even have enough room to like from like you would get from the top rope. You have more room to rotate that way. He's doing this crap from the second rope. Like
Hmm.
if you want to talk about a big, you know, plump dude who's doing stuff that they have no right doing, that's the first one that comes to mind immediately is Keith Lee. It's the reason I fell in love with that guy. Like
Yeah.
he's he's got that presence too. Like Yokozuna had that presence. I mean, you couldn't. I mean, you couldn't avoid not looking at him. You couldn't avoid looking at him because
Hmm.
he was right there and he takes up a lot of room. But like, he still had that aura about him, where it's like, oh man, this guy's a big deal. Like,
Right.
yeah,
Um. Okay. So, I generally agree with you that Keith Lee would be the guy. The only counter that I could offer, the only one in this case, it might have actually been an alternative counter for the previous one too. Is Bronson Reed, a guy way bigger than
yeah.
he is, doing stuff he has no business doing.
He also is Polynesian.
Yes, also is Polynesian. So I mean that's kind of
So I
bonus,
mean, I
but
think he's not Samoan, he's Maori, but
yeah. But I kind
um,
of agree with yours more because Keith Lee is just a phenomenal
freak athlete.
athlete, a freak athlete for his
Freak
size.
out. Yeah,
And
like it's incredible.
yeah, so I think I mean even if I have a counter to offer, I still think Keith Lee would be the one for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go with Keith Lee for that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Keith
on
Lee.
the basis of the freak athleticism for his
Yeah,
size.
just the freak athleticism versus size comparison. Yeah.
All right. So number 3 of our generated numbers here is going to be number 66. All right. Here's one I guarantee you would not have seen coming.
Okay.
Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker.
Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker. Oh my gosh. Okay. First
Yeah.
of all, to full disclosure, preface this little part right here.
Okay.
I am a huge mark for military gimmicks because both grandpa's dad, me, we were all in the
Yeah.
military. I ever since I was a little kid, I mark out for military gimmicks. I love them all, super patriotic ones and military gimmicks. So Sergeant Slaughter was one of my favorites. Always, yeah, even when he was an Iraqi sympathizer, which was terrible, but I was a kid.
Yeah. You're a kid.
I always believed that he was a like a GI Joe sleeper agent or something during that time. But
Yeah.
anyway, but Sergeant Bailey Parker, I distinctly remember because he was the first guy that I remember coming out in like a full on like they WCW really tried to push him, man. And he
Yeah.
was good. He was good. I enjoyed watching him. But who is the modern day one? Oh, okay.
He was the first. That was the first time I ever saw anybody do Juju Katana.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He because he
He
did
he
use a
was
lot
pretty
of.
much the one. I think honestly, he was probably the one to get credit that you would have to give credit for introducing the North American audience to a cross arm breaker.
He
That
might
was
have
the first time
been.
I'd seen. That was the first time I'd ever seen it.
He might have been because I mean I noticed like in his matches, remembering him, thinking back on him, something that maybe I'm having an epiphany about now is that he employed a lot of military taught hand to hand combat techniques in a wrestling fashion, like that, as he could employ them in a wrestling ring. So
Yeah,
yeah, he might have been the first guy I saw do a cross arm breaker because
yeah,
that's definitely something they teach us.
yeah,
So yeah, maybe he might have been the first
yeah.
guy.
Now,
Yeah.
granted, like he came on the scene in around what 94
93,
or
94
93,
ish.
94
Yeah,
somewhere.
somewhere in there.
So
I
I
remember
would have
seeing him
been
on
8 or
WCW
9.
Saturday night,
Yeah,
so yeah.
I so I was only 8 or 9.
Hmm.
So that's not a lot of time to see anybody else do it before then and
Right,
remember. But
right,
like he was using it as a finish. I'm like, oh, okay. I'd never seen it before. I didn't really think much of it at the time. Didn't not really thinking that it was an actual hold, like a jujitsu hold or a judo hold. But
right.
uh, as far as a modern day, um, I guess if I had to think of anybody, I guess it would be maybe what's his face in the infantry, the guy who's actually beaten Maxwell Jacob Freeman
Oh, you
twice,
talking about Captain Sean Dean?
Captain Sean Dean. It's the
Okay.
only like military gimmick now that I can think of, and
You know,
everybody does a cross arm breaker now. So like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
everybody does that cross arm breaker. He is the only, I think, active military gimmick I can think of.
yeah, like
I'm
he and the
trying to.
infantry are the only ones that I can think of. Like there are other performers who, um, they talk about their military background, but I don't think they usually work it into their gimmicks. I mean, Lacey Evans, but I don't want to give her credit for anything. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, as far as like pure brutality in the ring, I might compare her to Buddy Lee, but as far as like active right now, because I don't know where she's at, or what's going on with her.
she got released because I don't think they had anything for her. And then
Mm,
she's like, "No, I'm okay. I wanted it." I'm like, oh, yeah, okay,
okay, well, yeah,
whatever.
but I mean, as far as that goes, yeah, I mean, Sean Dean's probably the only person I can think of that
Yeah,
that has a similar gimmick even at all right
yeah.
now. It's not as prevalent as it once
I mean,
was.
you could make an argument that Chad Gable was in American Alpha or not American Alpha. Yeah, not American Alpha. What's the stable he just left?
That was American Alpha.
Was that American Alpha?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought that
because
was the
now
name of the tag team,
no, they were. Oh no, Alpha Academy was.
Alpha Academy.
Yeah, it's
You could
Alpha
make
Academy.
because he was kind of running it like a drill sergeant a little bit, right?
Yeah, a
You
little
can
bit.
make a case for it. I don't
hmm
think.
I think I'd still go
eh,
with Sean Dean. thinking
Let's go with
about it.
Sean Dean.
Yeah, I'd
Let's
go
give
with
a little
Sean
love
Dean.
to Sean Dean. You
Yeah, I
know, I
love
mean,
Sean Dean.
he's on the undercard. Let's give him a little. Let's give him a little shout out.
Yeah, he's a good Twitter follow too.
I should follow him on Twitter.
Yeah,
I
he's a
didn't
good
know.
Twitter follow. He's funny.
All right.
He likes, dude, his game of like go back through his feed and like just check out his Game of Thrones reactions because he just recently started watching Game of Thrones. Bro,
Oh,
it was like some of
all
the
right.
best, some of my best and funniest Twitter interactions ever were with him while he was because he was like you see him like post after like episode 2 of the first season, and you'd be like, bro, you just wait, and then he got to the end of the first season, you're like, dude, that ain't even it, bro, like
Nope.
just wait, like, and he just
Nope.
kept coming back like, oh my god, y'all warned me and I didn't listen, and he's he's a
I'll have
great
to
Twitter
do that
follow.
then.
Yeah, he's a good Twitter follow.
Uh, all right. So number 4 that we're gonna do here, the number it's gonna generate for us is 32,
32. All right.
which brings us to the British Bulldog, Davy Boy
Davy Boy
Smith.
Smith. Ah, oh, okay. Well, I mean, I can kick this one off. I mean, obviously, the only person running that exact gimmick today would be the guy running the other half of the British Bulldogs gimmick, and that's
Yeah,
Tom. What
Tommy Billington
Tommy Billington. Yeah. So,
Jr. I guess I
yeah,
don't
I guess Junior,
know.
nephew of
Yeah.
Dynamite Kid. I think. I'm not sure if
I
it's nephew or son. I
don't
think it's
know.
nephew though. I think they said he was just like a nephew or something like that.
I can
Um,
look it up real quick.
cool. But yeah, while you do that, I can pontificate a little bit. Yeah, I mean, closest thing to one of them guys is him.
Yeah,
Um, even though his wrestling style is a little bit more like his uncle or dad, whichever one it turns out to be. He's definitely way more like Dynamite than he is like British Bulldog. But he's the one running that gimmick now, so he's absolutely
yeah,
like basically the next in line. But as far as guys with British
yeah. They
accent,
are. It's his nephew.
it's his
Yeah, it's
nephew.
his nephew.
Okay.
Yep,
Now, as far as mean guys with British accents, there's a plethora of those.
there are. There's no shortage.
No.
Um, I want to. You know what I'm gonna say here is you to me when I think of the British Bulldog, I think of both technical expertise coming out of that Stampede territory, and
Mm-hmm.
also just brute strength
Yeah, he was a
from
very
the
strong dude.
English. So if we're gonna go that route, he's not an active wrestler anymore, but I think maybe the closest thing that you get to it is a Nick Aldis.
Yeah, he would be pretty close.
Like,
Um,
because that dude, I've seen that dude when he was Magnus on a TNA house show
mm-hmm,
that I went to about what in Elmira, I think it was an hour away.
mm-hmm,
And that dude, like, he didn't at that point. He was even bigger than he would, than he would eventually cut down to as the NWA World Champion. But when
mm-hmm.
he was in TNA, he was enormous,
Yeah.
and like he would just throw dudes around. I wasn't like a huge fan of his or anything like that, and he would
Mm-hmm.
get better from that point in my eyes. But like that's what I think of is like that huge jacked British dude that just could perform ludicrous feats of strength. That's what I think of when I think of Bulldog. And
Mm-hmm.
the closest thing I can think of right there, I mean, technically speaking, Drew McIntyre as a Scot is British, but he's not English. So
Yeah.
I would go. I think I'm going to go with Nick Aldis. I would submit Nick Aldis for consideration.
See, other than like the straight up gimmick, I'm trying to think of somebody who's actually active. I mean, Nick Ellis can be considered active because he's on Raw as a GM. I don't know if he's too hurt to ever compete again. He might not be.
I don't think he was hurt.
I don't think he was hurt. I think he just got hired to
I think he
WWE
just
and
took,
they,
yeah, he
yeah,
just took the opportunity to be with WWE in whatever capacity they
yeah.
wanted him, and so they stuck him as SmackDown GM, and
So
he's
yeah, with there being a possibility of he maybe getting in the ring again one day. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
closest one, because especially as Magnus. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
yeah, you brought that up because I mean that put my mind on that where I remember him just being this brute,
yeah.
and yeah, that very
Just
very Davy
jacked out of his
Boyish.
mind. Like just
Yeah.
like he slimmed down a little more
Hmm.
streamlined when he left TNA and went to the NWA and was their champion for a long time.
Yeah.
But he's still in great shape. He's
Hmm.
still a big, like 6'3", 4" dude with huge, rippling muscles and just incredible, strength. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I would do. That's what I would go with.
Yeah. I'll go with him. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. Our fifth pick here, number generated is number 21,
Right.
the Warlord.
The Warlord.
Who
Oh
is the
God.
modern Warlord?
Oh well. Let's see here. First of all, I'll say that I just met this guy a couple weeks ago. I met the Warlord. He was at an event that I worked at.
Yeah,
So I met him a few weeks back. I don't know if age has done something, but he is not as big as I thought he would be. That's not a diss on him. He's still a very big man,
he's old.
but he is old.
Everybody loses muscle mass when they get
Well,
old.
no, 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 not that. It's not that. I thought he would be taller. It's just the
Mm,
height thing. I thought he would be he's only about a head taller than I am, which is pretty tall still. But like I know some normal
yeah,
people who are taller who would be scarier in an
yeah,
alleyway than the Warlord. Even though on WWE TV is projected as terrifying, and he was, I'm sure.
yeah,
But I met him with Demolition Axe or Smash, whichever one of them that's still alive. They were there together. Um, just signing, like making an appearance, signing autographs. We had new tag belts for the company, and so they presented them. And
cool.
the heels got to be pricks to them and get some heat, and they were super
Yeah,
cool
yeah,
about it. They were very nice guys. Um, now, who the modern day warlord is, who the modern day like terrifying Lord Humongous guy is. Man, I mean, we've gone through some terrifying big guys already,
yeah,
as far as like people that we've mentioned already in previous things. But I mean, pure ass kickery, just a mean bastard, really big, but maybe like the warlord, not always close to a title, but always a threat. Lance Archer. Gotta give it to my
yeah.
man,
That's
Lance
that's a
Archer.
pretty good one. Archer. I feel is a lot better in the ring, but
Hmm.
he honestly though that is the spot that he occupies though.
Yeah, always a threat, but not really a
Yep.
title guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he might get a tag title out of this run. Who knows? I mean,
Well, so did the
private
Powers of Pain,
party.
right?
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But
Yeah.
um,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah,
that's who
I
I would
think
give it to.
that's as good as any. Like there are other big guys I could think of, but they could probably be it would probably be more analogous to others that are probably on the list. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to I don't want
Hmm.
to say like a Braun Strowman or something. It's like there's probably somebody else who's a better fit for,
Nah, if we had like,
something like
I
that.
mean, I could put forth a few on there, but in case we run across Braun Strowman or somebody that we could equate to Braun
Yeah,
Strowman, I'll just leave it. Yeah, but yeah, yeah, I'd say
yeah,
that's the guy.
Lance Archer could, yeah,
Yeah, because he's
or maybe,
popular.
oh, you know what? Actually, you know
Okay,
what?
hit me.
He, he even kind of looks a little bit like him, is Nick
Mm.
Camarado.
Yeah,
A little bit.
yeah, and
Big,
and and
jacked, hairy dude.
and
Um,
honestly, let's be honest. I mean, the Warlord was a gimmick.
yeah.
Um, he was there. He was kind of part of Vince's circus.
Yeah.
I'm
His
not trying
tag
to.
partner was better.
Yeah, I'm not trying to talk bad
Yeah.
about the guy at all. He's a fantastic person.
Yeah.
But he was not like always present or always over or all, like
Yeah.
sometimes it was like, oh, we're pulling him out for, like there, I'm sure there were years where we just saw him at the Rumble maybe, and that
Yeah.
was it. So maybe Nick Camarado is better, just for the simple fact that that's closer to the spot he currently occupies
Yeah,
on the scheme of things. It's like we're gonna see him in like casino gauntlets and stuff like that, but otherwise
yeah,
we're not really seeing a lot of him.
yeah.
Kind
I
of
think
like
he's
Ward.
currently on injured reserve, but it's not like you ever saw him doing anything
Yeah,
really,
he
except
they,
putting
he
others over.
a couple maybe a year ago or a year and a half ago or so. It was sometime since the Punk thing started because I was watching when it happened, but he had like a little run there where it looked like they were getting serious, and then he was
Yeah,
gone
and then
suddenly.
it just disappeared. It's just one
Yeah,
of those start
yeah,
stop pushes that sometimes you get in wrestling, and that's
mm-hmm.
not just an AEW thing. That's been a WWE
Mm.
thing for a
It's an
long time.
everybody thing. Everybody
It's
does start stops, man.
Yep,
Sometimes
and
shit
there are
just ain't
lots of
working.
different yeah, lots of different reasons why it couldn't.
Yeah.
So,
But as far as like
all
who
right,
occupies that specific, yeah, maybe Nick Comoroto is the guy on that one.
yeah, let's go with Nick.
Okay.
Yeah. Um. All right, number what is this? Sixth that we're
6.
doing.
Yep.
All right, generates number. See, this is why I had you write them down because it came up with 58 for Yokozuna again.
Oh, yeah,
So we're
we
gonna
already did that
redo
one.
that one. Gonna
Okay.
redo it. Ooh, number 30 is Rick Martel.
Ooh.
Ooh, Rick Martel, baby. The
Mm.
what the great thing about Rick Martel is that you've got a lot to choose from. You've got your AWA World Champion version of Rick Martel. You've got your Strike Force version of Rick Martel. You've got the model.
Mm-hmm.
You've even got your like latter day like WCW version of Rick Martel, where he was just like in the TV title scene, and like there's lots to choose from here.
Hmm.
So when I think
Man.
of the Rick Martel, you think of somebody who's technically proficient,
Mm-hmm. A body guy.
adaptable, a body guy
A
who's
body guy.
adaptable from like a character standpoint because the model was much different than anything else that he ever did, and
Mm-hmm.
he killed it. He
Yeah, he
freaking
did.
killed it. Um, so who's a body guy who's good in the ring and is also creatively character adaptable?
Ooh, man. That is kind of a difficult one because I'm trying to think of somebody like because really when I think of Rick Martel, the first thing that comes to my mind was that like that was an overbearingly handsome man in his time. Like he was
Yeah.
uber
There's
like
a reason that he got that gimmick.
yeah, like
It's
people
because
like
he could have been a model.
you
Like,
said anybody on the internet can say whatever they want about me after this, but dudes know when other dudes are handsome. Okay, we
yeah,
know. All right,
yeah.
and Rick
There's no shame in
Martel,
admitting that.
that was a handsome man.
Yeah.
So who
I have
is
made
just
several mentions on this podcast in the 4 weeks we've done about how Shibata is a very handsome man.
he
Like
is he is
he literally before his brain got all blood clotty, he could have been, and he got kind of grizzled when he came back. He really could have been a model. He could have been. He was
mm-hmm.
very very good looking guy. Still is.
So I'm trying to
Um,
think like who is that like super good looking dude who just adapts really well to everything he does. And there's a
this is
few.
another one where the first guy that comes to mind is actually somebody that I would bring up for somebody else.
Hmm.
So I don't want to say who it is just in case they come up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see. Gosh, it's rare to have a body guy actually be like a techer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's
Yeah.
kind of rare.
Yeah, it is kind of rare.
That's the part that's really getting me.
Okay, here you ready for this? Because this might be a
Sure.
little controversial. This might be a hot take.
Ooh,
This might be somebody
spicy.
saying I'm doing something weird in my mind. Who knows? Maybe this is mental gymnastics that got me here. But a body guy, somebody
Okay.
who's got a pretty good physique and is a handsome
Mm,
dude. He's got some nice
yeah.
hair on him because Rick Martel
Okay.
always had a nice head of hair.
It's
Okay,
true.
and can adapt to any role he's given and has done so pretty successfully, at least over the last 5 years that I've been watching him. It's Kenny Omega.
okay. Um, I'm gonna dispute the hair because he has some of the worst hairstyles that I've ever
I mean, okay, hey, no,
seen.
no, no. I'm not saying that his hairstyles aren't kind of dumb looking sometimes. All right. What I am saying is that he has thick and luxurious hair that most dudes,
uh,
especially me with my thinning hair, would be envious of,
yeah.
and I am envious of it a
Um,
little bit. So,
I
um,
mean, he definitely. I mean, yeah, there is a point to be made there.
mhm.
Um,
I hate him as a heel. I
I
love him as a
I
face.
I feel like you might be overselling him though, because or underselling him because like he's way better in the ring than Rick ever
I
was,
mean, okay,
and
no,
Rick
but
was
that's true.
good.
But we're look, but it's that rare combination of things.
Yeah,
Like
it is. It
you're
is. Yeah,
a handsome guy and a techer.
yeah, it's
Like
true. It's true. Um.
because I mean, if I want to say
Oh.
great techer in the ring,
Oh.
we could say Zack Sabre Jr., but he's not as handsome as
Oh.
Rick
Wait a
Martel.
minute. Wait a minute. It's staring us right in the face.
Okay,
It's Chad Gable. It's
you know
Chad
what? It
Gable.
is Chad Gable. Damn it.
He's in incredible shape. He's a good
Yeah,
looking dude.
he
He
is.
can he
He's
got
conventionally
shoosh
handsome.
over
Oh
like
yeah.
it's Chad Gable, isn't it?
I mean, he
It's Chad
adapts.
Gable.
Okay, he adapts well to everything he does. Even when he's in the
Yeah,
undercard, he has serious longevity. He's a handsome guy with a really good body, and he's a techer. Yeah,
yeah.
there it is. It's
It's
Chad Gable.
it's Chad Gable. Wah
Holy shit, it's
wah.
Chad Gable. Womp womp. We actually, I like Chad Gable, even though he's a
There it
dickhead
is.
right now. But yeah,
There it
like
is.
yeah, there it is. Chad Gable is Rick Martel. Okay,
Yeah,
fair
that's
enough.
great. All right.
Right.
All right. So our number 7, I believe, yes,
Mm-hmm. We're on
is
number 7.
turns out to be number 68.
All right.
Bam Bam Bigelow.
Oh man.
And now I'm regretting my Keith Lee choice.
Oh man. Okay. Oh, Bam
See?
Bam.
This is what I was afraid of.
Who's a bad man like Bam Bam? Man. Um. Whew.
Former bounty hunter, again, ludicrously athletic for his size. Um, Main event at WrestleMania. He did do
Mm-hmm.
that,
Yeah.
and then got kind of quietly dropped.
Yeah,
It's like, oh,
that
thanks
too.
for teaching LT how to wrestle. Here, we're gonna try and make you the number 2 babyface under Diesel.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that didn't work, did it?
Nah. Nah. Killer run in
Bam,
ECW.
Bam Bam Bigelow. Um, man, you know
That's
what's
a
making
tough
me
one.
realize is that there aren't enough fat guys in wrestling
I know, right? There's just not enough big
anymore.
dudes,
Aren't,
super athletic big dudes.
everybody's either small or a body guy.
Yeah,
Like,
pretty much.
um,
It's about 6 of us left.
gosh, who's the Bam Bam? I can't say Keith Lee because I picked him for Yoko. So who do I say? Man,
I
I
mean,
mean, you got something? Because
we could use Bronson Reed because
we could use Bronson
he's a
Reed.
big
That
guy who's
dude is
athletic and mean as
ludicrously
hell.
athletic. Yeah,
He just
I
needs to
mean
main event WrestleMania. And if he's going to be going against Seth in this program and does well, he could be main eventing WrestleMania
could be.
soon.
You never know. I mean,
Yeah.
he's occupying that upper mid card spot right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. I mean, let's go with Bronson. I mean, let's hope that he does. I mean, the one thing that he has on Bam Bam is that he is a former title holder.
Yeah.
He was the NXT North American champion for a little bit
Mm-hmm.
there. So there's at least that he has going. Bam Bam never won a belt in WWF.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was there with them on and off for a while, and he never won anything until he went to ECW.
Yeah. Oh man, his ECW
So
run was something too. I liked it, but
yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
Bronson Reed. I mean, he's got the same that
Bronson Reed.
attitude. That the right attitude. I could see him with a shaved head and a flame tattoo.
Yeah,
It'd be
he can
scarier
do a
than it
car.
already is, and he can do
He can do
cartwheel.
a car wheel, right? Yeah,
Yep, yeah, he
yeah.
sure
Okay,
can.
yeah. Let's go with Bronson Reed.
All right, sure
Bronson
can.
Reed, upper mid card guy, big dude. Yeah, makes sense.
Yep,
All right, number 8. Then generating number 34.
34.
Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Oh man, who's your grizzled old hand that was a grizzled old hand from day one? Um,
Um,
Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnet.
he's the youngest man alive.
Yeah.
Uh,
Let's see. Who's our grizzled old hand these days that
uh,
marks
oh
everybody?
no. Oh no, I know who it is.
Hmm.
It's Chris Jericho, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't think
I mean, I
I
would
don't
say
think
that
Greg ever got told please retire. So
true, but Jericho's also way, given the breadth of his career, I think we can both say that as a valid a legend as Greg Valentine is, he doesn't really hold a candle to Chris Jericho.
no, no.
But if you're talking about the grizzled veteran, um, that's still doing. Okay, all right, hear me out. Tomohiro Ishii. He's kind of
Yeah.
built like him. He's
Yeah,
kind
they're
of
kind
built
of
like
built the
him.
same. He can job to everybody. He doesn't really hurt his credibility.
Yeah,
He's an older guy. He's worked everybody.
and you know what? He's before this summer he was hanging out with a bunch of weirdos in the conglomeration, and Greg Valentine hung out with big weirdo, honky tonk man as rhythm and blues. Like,
He
I
did. He
mean,
did.
there are parallels. There are parallels.
Yeah.
How many dog collar matches has he been a part of? Probably not many.
Nah.
New Japan tends to do straight matches,
Yeah.
but I bet that if you could actually fit a dog collar around that thick neck of his, I bet the match that he'd have would be bloody and legendary, just like Greg Valentine and Roddy Piper in Oregon.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I'd go with Tomohiro too, because yeah,
Let's go with
he
Tomohiro
has that right
Ishii.
status. Yeah.
Yeah,
Get him in a
yeah, there we
dog
go.
collar match ASAP.
Put him against Murder Grandpa, and you've got me. You've got me.
His neck is so big that they could put the dog collar right, it might just slide off the top of his head.
Yeah. That's not a dog collar, that's a dog belt. All right,
All right.
number 8. Yeah.
8. All right. Lowest one so far.
All right. Number that's drawn is 19. Okay, I'm gonna take slight issue with this
Okay.
because it says the body Donnas, but
Skip and zip
but
the body Donnas.
technically speaking, Chris Candido was still wrestling in 2006 on a full-time basis for TNA when he got that horrific arm injury that got staph infected and died.
Hmm.
He was still wrestling full-time in 2006. So, as much as I love this entry, I think we can I think we have to disqualify Candido from the situation
Yeah.
based on the rules.
Yeah.
But Dr. Tom Pritchard, on the other hand, is fair game.
Yeah.
So how about we just do Dr. Tom then?
Okay. So who's
So
the
Dr.
null?
Tom was a chameleon. He was
He was definitely a chameleon. God,
he
I
was
didn't even
he was a
realize that he was a body don. I
he's a
almost forgot that.
good hand. Yeah, he was a good hand. But I think what he's most remembered for and most revered for is that he's an excellent teacher,
Yeah.
an excellent coach. So maybe that's the route that we should go. Maybe the coach route. The guy who's in there who's still doing it, but is also teaching others at the same time. So if you're giggling and I want to know why.
Who am I gonna say?
Who are you gonna say?
CM Punk.
Uh,
Because you know damn well if you ask that man for help, he'll give it
hmm.
to you. And at this point, it's even out of spite because other people wouldn't take it.
See, I was going a little different route
Okay, take me on
because
this
he's
other
not
route.
wrestling now,
Okay,
but he quit after the period of time that we're talking about. So
okay,
I don't know if it's even accurate if we're bending or breaking the rules there because he
mhm.
is retired. But the name that comes to my mind immediately with how much he's helped the WWE women's division over the years is Fit Finlay.
Okay, that's fair.
Like and for a while there, when because they put him when they bought WCW, they pretty much put him immediately in that coach role, and then he
Yeah,
came out of retirement as an active wrestler, so he was at one point doing both.
yeah. Okay, yeah.
The only issue I have with my own take is that he's not currently active. So
No.
I don't know. Does that break the rules of what we were
Maybe it
going
does.
for?
We might have to go currently
Right?
active, but then I'm still thinking like CM Punk's not really the chameleon guy. He is a good
No.
teacher. I'm sure a lot of people seem to dig him over in NXT and WWE in
Yeah.
general. A bunch of the guys that he worked, Hobbs, who we mentioned
Yeah.
earlier, seemed to really like listening to him teach, and Starks
Yeah.
too. So, um, I would say as far as the coach part goes, and the still doing it part, but then you got to bring in like the character work, and CM Punk's always just been CM Punk.
Pretty
Like
much.
who imparts their knowledge to the people that it's also imparting the knowledge of character work. You know,
Yeah.
that's a difficult one.
That's difficult.
Yeah.
I want to say who is it? Who's doing it for AEW? I think she's injured right now, but is that Madison Rain? I think.
I think so.
I mean, considering she was one of the beautiful people, you gotta think that she's coaching those girls on character too, right?
I would hope. Yeah.
And she's a good hand in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's not
And
like
she's still
anything like
working. Yeah.
she's still working when she's healthy.
Yeah. But she's also
Maybe
training. So
maybe it's Madison Rain.
yeah. Oh no, you know what?
What?
I
Ooh.
got one. I got one even better. It's Serena Deeb.
Oh, of course.
Because
Yeah,
my
it's
wife
Steve.
sat there with me and watched the whole CM Punk
Yeah.
Straight Edge Society thing, and loves Serena Deeb in AEW, and did not realize that that was the same girl. So there's
Oh,
your chameleon right there,
there's your
who
chameleon.
imparts her knowledge, Deeb's dojo,
Yep.
and is still currently working and kicking ass.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, that's it. It's Deeb.
It's Deeb.
Dr. Deeb. Dr.
Dr.
Tom
Deeb.
Pritchard. Dr. Tom Pritchard. The Professor Serena Deeb. It's
Yeah,
all there.
it's all
It's
there,
all
man.
there. Yeah.
It's Deeb.
Yep. Laid it out perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Number 9. Getting close to the end here. Generating a number. It's
All
really
right.
digging these 60s numbers. It gave
Isn't
me a
it?
61. And ooh, boy, is this a good one.
All right.
Beautiful Bobby Eaton.
Oh man. Oh man.
Oh,
I'm gonna try to do this
going.
without giving corny Jim a boner because I love
So
Bobby Eaton.
Bobby Eaton is one of those guys that as a kid, he's just kind of there and you don't
Mm-hmm.
really think twice about him. And then as an adult wrestling fan going back on it, you realize that he was just so talented, so
Yes.
smooth,
So good.
so technically proficient,
Made
didn't hurt
everybody look
anybody.
like a champ, man.
Like, and sweet mullet too.
Oh, super
Uh,
sweet mullet. Yeah.
and and he wasn't afraid to go into the goofy realm either. Like you remember the Earl Robert of Eaton
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
yeah,
With
like
with Regal, right?
there yeah,
Yeah.
that's a guy that could literally fill any role that you asked him to fill.
Mm-hmm.
Made so what we're looking for is that fantastic all rounder, right?
Mm, yeah.
So when I think fantastic all rounder who doesn't hurt anybody, who people think is probably a day off in the ring to get in the middle of the ring with. Who do I think of? Who do I think of?
Who does everybody love working?
Orton. Everybody loves working with Orton.
Mm-hmm. Can't really
Like
hurt
I'm
anybody.
not gonna lie. Okay, this is kind of a hot take. I'm not really that big a fan of Randy Orton. I think he's super boring outside of the RKO. I know that's a hot, spicy take. Everybody loves them some Randy Orton from the nostalgia vibes now. Like talk about that equity that he's built up with the audience. I understand that I'm the outlier here. I get that.
What's that? Our ratings are on fire? Oh.
Oh no. That said, people love working with Orton. He's not hurt a single person that I can think of in the ring. He's still going.
Mm-hmm.
He's slotted into every single role I think that you could possibly put him in. Like I think there's a really good case that the modern day Bobby Eaton is Randy Orton.
I got to give this one a little bit more thought because
Yeah.
I like Randy Orton as a choice, but I'm trying to think of somebody like kind of like the last one where we kind of honed it in a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of somebody who is that same day off and hasn't hurt anybody and all that. And but I'm looking for. I mean, Bob Eaton was never the world heavyweight champion, you
No,
know.
it's true.
So who? And I mean, I'll give more points to Orton than what we've already given him. He works great in tag teams with multiple people.
Mm.
You know, he's had crappy tag teammates and good tag teammates, and still pulled a good program out of it.
Yeah,
So,
makes it work.
yeah, he makes it work. Which I mean, where I give him more points in the column, even than even then. So, but who fills that same role that hasn't won the strap? That maybe kind of like Eaton with everybody, like as when we were kids. Like, I mean, of course, to hear it from anybody else who was a contemporary of his, everybody respected him and knew he was fucking great at what he did,
Yeah.
and he was the guy. So, I mean, the boys were fans of his.
Yeah.
So so I'm trying to think like who are the boys a fan of that maybe the general audience is accepting
May not
of,
quite appreciate.
but
Yeah.
may not really appreciate as much as they should. Because now us, like really
Yeah.
digging into wrestling, you go back and you watch a Bob Eaton match, you're like, this guy was a great, technically proficient wrestler.
Yeah.
Like, he really knew how to wrestle. Um, so who do you look at and be like, man, they really do know how to wrestle. They're just not. They're just gonna get that love later when people realize how great they are.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm trying to think like who's a mid card guy who has matches with literally everybody.
Oh.
Come on.
I mean, I'm thinking this may be a little bit of a stretch, but
Okay.
you could put somebody like Shelton Benjamin in that category.
Yeah, because I still think people don't appreciate him as much as they should. And
Yeah.
he's had a bunch of
Like
different
he,
tag teams with a bunch of awesome people, and he's really great at it. And he's a really good mid card guy who's never won the big strap, who everybody appreciates,
yeah,
but not as much as they should. I'm sure the boys are all fans of him.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say anything bad about him.
I'm sure he's never hurt anybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, Shelton
Maybe
Benjamin.
Shelty B.
Yeah,
Shelty B.
that may
Your modern
change.
day.
That may change
That may,
shortly.
yeah. I
He
mean,
could end up
he's
with the big strap on him in AEW at some point. I mean,
it's
you know
at
how
some
Tony Khan
point.
likes to do things.
Yeah,
So
he does like to do
he
things.
does like to do things. So
Yeah.
he might just be like, this man deserves his flowers. He's going to have this title around his waist for a month or two.
Yeah. You never know.
I didn't expect it to be off Swerve already. So here we are.
Yeah.
You know.
All right. So Shelton Benjamin. All right, last one.
Last one.
What number does it generate? Number 40. Ooh,
40?
who are the modern road warriors?
Oh, fuck. This is a loaded question for me. Because as we discussed in our very first Call It in the Ring segment, the Road Warriors are part of my very first memory of wrestling.
Yeah.
So, what big, beefy, brutal tag team evokes that kind of emotion from me? It's a very this kind of makes the question a little more personal than it should be for me, but I can put that I can readily put that aside if necessary. But man, that's a tough one. Who's the modern day Road Warriors? There's a lot of people pretending that they're the modern day Road Warriors.
Yeah.
That's for damn sure.
I, I we need to set aside the part of the gimmick that they had in the 80s where they bolt to the ring and everybody flees in terror because unless you're doing the exact same gimmick, that's not going to happen.
No,
That being said, what you have left are two big dudes who beat the crap out of you, take no prisoners,
don't sell shit.
don't sell anything. So who does that leave you with?
Man.
You know who it leaves you with is War Raiders.
Oh, I mean, fucking fair. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
leaves you with the
just
War
watched it.
Raiders.
Yeah, at least you're at the work because like I'm sorry, I have a hard time calling Ray Death Row because he said such a cool name. His name
Yeah.
was fucking Raymond Death Row. Like
Yep.
he was the coolest fucking dude. Like he's a big bad man. He's fucking legitimately scary.
Yeah.
But a nice guy, like you never guess. Um, but yeah, him and Ivar, yeah, they just destroy people. What they
Yeah.
did, like a good example is what they did to Akira Tozawa this week. Like that, god dang, it was ugly in the best way. Like it was just like, oh, they killed him. They killed poor Akira. Like he's
Oh,
eating through a
boy.
straw for a few weeks. He's laid up at home. Like we're not gonna see him for a while. Otis might have to come for revenge.
Yeah.
Um, they readily and easily laid out Otis, which is
Yeah.
crazy because it's hard to get that man on his back at any point in the match.
Yeah. That dude
Um,
is rotund.
he's rotund and he's like got the muscle mass that makes it even harder for him to move.
Not
And
only
he's
that, but
still,
he's short too.
yeah,
So
he's
it's all
short.
compacted and one that you can't like spread that weight as evenly
Mm-hmm.
over a wider
And
space to
he
make
still
it.
manages to move like a madman despite all
Yeah.
of those factors. So I go Otis.
Got a
But
great
yeah, I
worm.
mean the war. Yeah, he does have a great worm. I can't do the fucking worm. Okay,
Me
so,
neither. Me
but
neither.
yeah, the War Raiders are a great choice, man. I'm trying to
I
think of
think
a counterpoint, really.
honestly, I think they're the only choice because
Um,
like Cage and Archer just started teaming
yeah, I was
up.
about to say Cage and Archer are like a to be
That
determined type thing. Like, what are
yeah,
they going to look like?
yeah,
And is there going to be any longevity there? Because this whole Don Callis thing is weird. Trading for talent he didn't
yeah,
technically own and all the stuff that's going on there.
yeah.
Um, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how that goes with them. Um, I'm trying to think of anybody else like who would have like any tag team from any tag team division. I'm even trying to dig into what
That's
I do
current.
know about
Yeah, like
NXT, like who would be close. Um,
AOP maybe.
AOP maybe, yeah. Like I mean, they got Paul Ellering,
They do have
so
Paul Ellering.
that they
I mean,
might be the closest thing. But
it's very clear that when they paired them up with Paul Ellering, that they wanted them to evoke that same kind of feeling.
yeah, the only
Uh,
thing though about AOP which separates them in my mind from somebody like the Road Warriors is that the Road Warriors were never anybody's bitch. The Road
well,
Warriors were never anybody's fucking attack
not only
dog.
that,
You
I
know?
mean, but Hawk and Animal were still personalities. They still had distinct
Yeah,
personalities.
yeah. Akam
And
and
Akam
Razor
and
don't
Rizar
have that.
have no personalities. They're
No.
just big wrecking balls
Yeah, they're
that
somebody's
do as they're
dogs.
told. Yeah.
Yeah, then like Ellering was a good mouthpiece for those two guys, but those two guys were good mouthpieces on their own.
Yeah.
So they were not just Ellering's attack dogs. They were the
Right.
fucking Road Warriors. And I can't say that about ALP.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, like, yeah, I'll strike them.
Yeah.
Um, but
I
as
mean,
far as who else is close, no, it's the War Raiders.
I think it's War
Raymond
Raiders.
Death
Yeah.
Row is legitimately one of the most terrifying men in wrestling today. And after what they did to Akira Tozawa, it's just more terrifying. The fact that Ivar, at his size, can move in the fashion that he moves is
Yeah.
terrifying, also. Like, that guy does cartwheels and backflips and shit just like standing. Like, I can't
Yeah.
do a cartwheel. like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I like if people looked at him, me next to him, not knowing who either one of us are, they'd be like, "You're in better shape because
Mm.
he's bigger than like he's got a bigger gut than I got." It's what it is. But he can also do a standing back tuck with that gut, and I can't.
No, I
So
can't. I can barely put on my socks anymore without
right, like
straining.
right.
Like,
So yeah, like those guys are terrifying. Like Raymond Death Row is legit. I mean, it may be I might be a little biased on this one because I've met him in person, but he's a terrifying dude. He's a big
yeah,
terrifying. Like maybe Brody King and Buddy Matthews could have been put in here if they were booked better
yeah.
because they're about the same
Maybe.
terrifying wise. I mean, Buddy Matthews is just jacked. Brody King's just terrifying.
Yeah,
And they could definitely pull off a Road Warriors s gimmick if they were booked to. But
yeah.
I think the House of Black Ball hath been fumbled, and
Um,
we'll see.
I think it can be recovered,
I mean,
but
I think it can.
it's not the same. I mean, even if you added Buddy Matthews in there, like just because Hawk was the one who jumps from the turnbuckles in the Doomsday Machine doesn't necessarily mean he was a high flyer. Like
Yeah,
Buddy
yeah,
Matthews is a different kind of athlete than Hawk ever was. I mean,
yeah,
Brody King would obviously be the animal of
yeah,
that tandem, but like Hawk was never. He was still another big power dude. Is the thing. He just
yeah.
happened to be taller and a little bit more nimble on the ropes. That's
Mm-hmm.
really the biggest difference. That's why he was the one who leapt off the top rope, because he could do it, not
Yeah.
because he could do anything else off the top
Right.
rope.
Right. I mean, we only
So
ever saw him fly off the top rope for the Doomsday Device, or that one time he flew off the Titantron. Um,
he was pushed by draws.
okay.
Okay.
I don't know
he
he
was
wasn't.
he that was an attempted murder.
Okay, we're about to have a Han shot first situation here because no, he was not. He fell. Draws didn't even touch him. Draws shot first.
But yeah, draw shot first. But
Oh
yeah,
man,
I think that was really fun.
that was
And
fun. I enjoyed
if we
that.
ever decide to do anything quite like this again, I still have this list, so we can just keep the ones that we crossed off. we
Hmm.
can we can do this. Yeah, if I'm feeling lazy, we'll do this again.
Heck
How about
yeah,
that?
I'm down to do it whenever. That was fun. I enjoyed that.
That was fun.
Heck yeah. Well,
All
as
right.
usual, that was us with the Spark Foundation podcast. I thank you guys for listening. We will be out next week, same time, right before Raw comes on, or sometime during the day before Raw comes on. It all depends on processing time. But yeah, we'll have that podcast out every Monday as usual. Catch us at Smark Foundation Podcast on Linktree for all of our goodies, our YouTube channel, which coming up over Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll have these segments booked into smaller chunks so that you can digest easier or just listen or check out our cool Outrunners 80s inspired screens for a couple of hours. Whatever
Yeah.
you want to do. Make sure to check out our merch store and catch you some Spark Foundation podcast. All proceeds go to helping the podcast get better. Um, I'm Aaron.
I'm Adam.
Thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll see you next time.